US and Israel launch attack on Iran. Trump says massive operation underway. Iran also launches retaliatory attacks. Nepal government issues safety advisory for Nepalese in Iran, and Israel also urges to maintain communication with the Nepali embassies in Tel Aviv and Doha. Nepal's election commission completes all its preparations with just 5 days to go for polls. Over 18.9 million eligible to cast ballots. International calls grows as Pakistan and Afghanistan engage in cross-border fighting for a third day. Pakistan, however, rejects dialogue. At least 15 killed after military plane carrying banknotes crashes in Bolivia. Police fire tear gas to disperse crowds trying to take banknotes. And Real Madrid to face Manchester City in Champions League last 16. Chelsea drawn against holders PSG. Hello there, I'm Swiksha Rajak. Welcome to NTV World Primetime News. Coming up to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere, it's 13:15 in London, 22:15 in Tokyo, and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in details. The United States and Israel have launched a wave of strikes against targets in Iranian cities, triggering explosions and columns of smoke in the capital of Tehran. The office of Iran's supreme leader and the presidential office in Tehran were reportedly targeted, as well as military sites across the country. Iran also responded by launching retaliatory missile attacks, according to the Israeli military, as U.S. diplomats in the Gulf and Israeli civilians were ordered to seek shelter. Explosions thought to be Iranian attacks have also been heard across the region, including in Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait. In Bahrain, where the U.S. has a major naval base, the moment of an apparent Iranian missile attack was filmed. Washington, meanwhile, has been ramping up the pressure on Tehran to agree to a new deal on its nuclear program. U.S. President Donald Trump, in a video released on a White House YouTube channel, said the operation is intended to defend the American people by removing what he described as immediate threats from the Iranian regime.
I'll say it again. They can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated.
Meanwhile, the United Arab Emirates Defense Ministry in a statement has said that the UAE today was subjected to a blatant attack involving Iranian ballistic missiles, noting that UAE air defense systems dealt with the missiles with high efficiency and successfully intercepted a number of missiles. They also reiterated the UAE's commitment to ensuring regional stability and maintaining strong defense capabilities. Nepal's Ministry of Foreign Affairs has issued a safety advisory for Nepali nationalists in Israel and Iran in wake of escalating tensions in the Middle East. The Foreign Ministry has advised Nepalis residing in these countries to follow security instructions issued by local authorities, remain indoors as much as possible, exercise caution, and stay in regular contact with the local Nepali community. Travel without prior authorization from relevant authorities in Israel or Iran is strongly discouraged. Nepali nationals are also urged to maintain communication with the ministry in Kathmandu, as well as the Nepali embassies in Tel Aviv and Doha. The advisory further recommends that Nepalese planning travel to Israel or Iran defer their plans until the situation stabilizes. Citizens living or working in other Middle Eastern countries are advised to closely monitor developments and adhere to precautionary measures issued by local authorities. We are going for a short break here. More news coming up. Welcome back. You are watching NTV World Primetime News, and the Election Commission of Nepal has completed all its preparations for the March 5 House of Representative election. A total of 18.9 million registered voters will be eligible to cast their ballots, including 9.66 million men, 9.24 million women, and 200 others. Under the first-past-the-post system, 3,406 candidates are contesting, while 3,135 candidates are running under the proportional representation system. The election will take place across 10,567 polling stations and 23,112 polling centres, with an additional 143,000 temporary polling locations arranged nationwide. To ensure a free, fair and secure election, over 700,000 security personnel will be deployed alongside 245,000 election officials. A total of 42 observer organizations will monitor the electoral process. A total of 65 political parties are participating under the first-past-the-post system, while 63 parties are contesting under proportional representation. The Commission said all arrangements have been completed to facilitate a transparent and inclusive voting process. The Election Commission of Nepal has taken action 8 individuals and sought clarifications from 94 people for breaching the Election Code of Conduct. 57 clarifications have been received from the political parties and candidates, while re-clarifications have been sought from 6 individuals, according to the communication. Government and non-government officers, media houses and journalists are also in the list that the EC has held responsible for the violation of the Election Code of Conduct. As now, 1,076 complaints about the breaching of the Code of Conduct have been received from across the country. 1,061 have been already sorted out. The highest number of complaints are from Lumini province. With just 5 days to go for polling day, concerns are growing over whether persons with disabilities will be able to participate fully and independently in the voting process. It is estimated that nearly 650,000 individuals, or about 2% of the population, are living with disabilities. Advocates say this significant voting bloc continues to face structural and physical barriers during elections Disability rights organizations argue that major political parties have largely ignored disability-related issues in their manifestos. They also note that campaign rallies and public events often lack basic accessibility features. Community leaders are calling on election authorities to make polling stations fully disability-friendly. The key demand include ramps for wheelchair users, braille ballots for voters with visual impairments, trained volunteers to assist voters when needed, clear signage, and safe barrier-free movement with polling centers. Rights groups stress that equal access to voting is a constitutional guarantee and fundamental to an inclusive democracy. They say the response of authorities in the coming days will determine whether the elections are truly accessible to all citizens. Nepal's Ministry of Finance has started a necessary process to formulate the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Spokesperson at the Ministry of Finance, Tanka Prasad Pandey, informed that a revenue advisory committee have been formed as per the prescribed schedule for budget preparation. This committee will provide recommendations to the government on economic affairs and the policy measures to be included in the upcoming budget. The committee will provide suggestions on policy and legal reforms related to income tax, value-added tax, excise duty, education service fees, digital service tax, taxes applied on e-commerce, and other internal tax as per the Finance Act. In Nepal's western Tarai plains, the thinly populated Hindu Natwa community is on the brink of extinction, concentrated in a few pockets of Lumbini province. Community leaders say decades of neglect, shrinking traditional livelihoods, and limited access to education and jobs have pushed them into severe economic hardship, prompting urgent calls for official recognition as an endangered ethnic group. Our colleague Diksha Avasthi, along with Rupandehi's local correspondent Deepak Khimire, brings more.
The Hindu Natwa community, which exists in small numbers across Nepal, is now in an endangered state. The community residing in limited numbers in some areas of Rupandehi, Kapilvastu and Nawalparasi districts of Lumbini province, as well as in a few other Tarai districts, has requested to be listed as an endangered ethnic group, claiming their population to be around 1,000. In Rupandehi, they are settled in Ward number 3 and 10 of Lumbini Cultural Municipality. According to Natwa leaders, they have repeatedly traveled to the federal capital Kathmandu to stage protest for recognition of their identity, but have not yet received justice. They say they are facing several financial difficulties due to lack of jobs and work opportunities. Men of the Natwa community traditionally traveled across villages to perform at weddings, bratavanda, that is sacred thread ceremonies, fairs and festivals, playing musical bands, sharpening tools, and even handling snake rescue as part of their occupation. Women, meanwhile, sustain themselves through alms collection. With a change of time and increased access to digital technology and modern musical instruments, traditional Natwa occupations have been pushed aside. They complain even their traditional practice of seeking alms is now viewed negatively by society.
अनि मेरो घरतिर एकजना छ त्यहाँ पनि त्यस्तै झोपडी डेरा तानेर त्यस्तै छ हेल्प सहयोग गर्न अवस्था क्षमता जुन छ त्यो पनि गर्न भन्छ मम्मी गर्दिनुस्
छोरी छोराहरूलाई छोरीहरूलाई पढेको मान्छेलाई नोकरी दिन पर्छ जागिर खान पर्छ त्यही हो कुरा हाम्रो भिक्षा मागेर कति दिनसम्म खान्छन्.
According to community leaders, most families are compelled to survive through daily wage labor at minimum wages. The leaders have urged the government to classify them as an endangered ethnic group and to make agreements for education and employment opportunities. Although Nepal's Constitution 2072 guarantees equal rights to all citizens, marginalized communities still do not have equal access to opportunities in practice. Acting Chief of Lumbini Cultural Municipality, Kalpana Harijan, informed that the local government has been providing support to help preserve their cultural identity.
बाजा बजाउने कलाबाट आफ्नो परिवारको जीविकोपार्जन गर्ने हुँदा हामीले कुनै पनि कार्यक्रमहरू गर्दा चाहे धार्मिक होस्, राजनीतिक होस्, अन्य संघ संस्थाबाट गर्ने कार्यक्रमहरूमा होस्, नटुवा जातिको बाजागाजा वेशभूषा सहित हामीले सहभागी गराउने र उहाँहरूलाई अलिकति भए पनि आर्थिक भारमा सहयोग गर्ने गरेका छौं.
There appears to be a need for special plans for scholarship, skill-based training, self-employment programs, and cultural preservation for the Natua community. Diksha Awasti with local correspondent Deepak Ghimire reporting for NTV World.
We have more updates on the other side, but time to go for a short break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World Primetime News, and it's time for international updates. Now, the international calls for mediation are growing as Pakistan and Afghanistan engage in cross-border fighting for a third day in the most serious flare-up in violence between the neighbors in months that Pakistan says has brought them into open war. Pakistan, meanwhile, has flatly rejected international calls for mediation and a Taliban offer for negotiations. Pakistan's government insists there will be no dialogue until Afghanistan stops harboring Tariq-e-Taliban Pakistan (TTP) militants, whom Islamabad blames for a surge in deadly domestic terror attacks. The conflict intensified Friday with Pakistani airstrikes hitting Kabul, Kandahar and Paktia, the first such strikes on Taliban power centers. In response, Afghan forces launched drone attacks on Pakistani military camps, while a drone strike on a mosque in Bannu injured several civilians. Both sides report heavy casualties, with Pakistan claiming to have killed over 270 militants while losing 12 soldiers. At least 15 persons have been killed and other injured after a Bolivian Air Force cargo plane crashed in the western city of El Alto. The incident happened at 18:15 local time on Friday as the plane was arriving at El Alto's airport from the city of Santa Cruz, according to the aviation officials. It reportedly skidded off the runway and hit nearby vehicles. The Defense Ministry later confirmed its C-130 Hercules was involved and that it had been transporting banknotes to the Central Bank of Bolivia. There were 8 people aboard the plane, the Air Force commander said. Police fired tear gas to disperse crowds allegedly trying to take the scattered banknotes. After an 18-month suspension, the Maitri bus service connecting India's Tripura and Kolkata via Bangladesh, Dhaka has officially resumed operations. The restart of the cross-border route marks the return of a key travel link that had been halted due to unrest in Bangladesh. The service then returned to Agartala with 22 passengers on board, marking the successful completion of its resumed round trip. The bus service had remained suspended for a prolonged period due to unrest in Bangladesh, causing considerable inconvenience to travelers who rely on the direct connection. Passengers welcomed the restoration of the service and expressed hope that it will continue operating smoothly, helping to strengthen ties between the two countries. A Pakistani astronaut will participate in a short-duration space flight mission of the Chinese space station as a payload specialist. It came after the signing of a cooperation agreement between China and Pakistan in February 2025, under which the Chinese government began to select and train a group of Pakistani astronauts, with one of them selected the first foreign astronaut to enter the Chinese space station. According to the project, the Pakistani astronaut will conduct scientific experiments for Pakistan during the short-duration space mission, as well as perform routine crew duties during the flight. Since its inception, China's manned space program has consistently adhered to the principles of peaceful utilization, equality, mutual benefit, and shared development. More international news lined up. Let's take a short break now. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World Primetime News. A sudden winter storm has brought daily life to a standstill in parts of Turkey just days before the arrival of spring. After a brief period of mild weather, heavy snowfall returned to the region last week, reaching 70 centimeters in the city center and exceeding 1 meter in higher elevations. Meteorological authorities report that the total cumulative snowfall for this winter season has now reached a staggering 664 centimeters. The storm has cut off access to several villages and towns, with massive cleanup operation is currently in progress. However, full-scale road clearing for rural areas is expected to be completed once the snowfall subsides. Bunker oil from a sunken Panamanian-flagged cargo ship has reached the Thai shores of Kohi, or the Coral Island, threatening one of Phuket's snorkeling destinations. Cleanup efforts by the Royal Thai Navy and the Thai Maritime Enforcement Commander Center are underway, though the use of containment booms has been restricted by an equipment shortage. The delayed response, coupled with shifting winds, has pushed semi-solid oil clumps and shuds onto pristine beaches. While the island remains open to the roughly 1,000 daily visitors, many tourists inadvertently stepped on or sat on the bunker oil, leaving stains on the feet, bodies, and clothing. Local business operators expressed grave concern that the spilled cloud damaged traveler sentiment and Phuket's long-term tourism image. Authorities are closely monitoring weather patterns, as further shifts could push the spill toward major hubs such as Ravai and Naiharn beaches. Despite the environmental threat, officials have yet to formally declare a disaster zone or close the affected shorelines. In the hills of Putumayo in Colombia, communities long affected by coca cultivation and related violence are shifting toward legal agricultural production. According to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, for decades, coca farming in the southern department fueled illicit economies, insecurity, and the presence of transnational organized crime groups. Now, farmers in rural areas of Putumayo are transitioning into alternative crops such as sacha, inchi, and sugarcane under development programs supported by UNODC. The farmers said they were working to build stable legal livelihoods despite economic uncertainty and security risk. UNODC officials say the alternative development initiatives aim to reduce dependence on coca cultivation by improving access to markets, strengthening local cooperatives, and supporting value-added production. The programs focus on crop substitution, technical training, and connecting producers to domestic and international buyers. Now to sports. Real Madrid will play Manchester City, while defending champions Paris Saint-Germain will face Chelsea in the peak of 2025-26 Champions League last 16 games after the draw was made by UEFA in Neon, Hinterlands. The draw for European football's biggest club competition on Friday determined that City will face Madrid for the fourth consecutive season in a knockout Champions League clash. Meanwhile, PSG and Chelsea will repeat their FIFA 2025 Club World Cup final, which the Premier League side won 3-0. Elsewhere, Barcelona will face Newcastle United, Tottenham Hotspur will play Atletico Madrid, and Arsenal will take on Bayer Leverkusen. Liverpool will renew hostilities with Galatasaray in a rematch of their league phase game, which the Turkish giant won 1-0 in Istanbul. Norwegian Minnows will face Portugal's Sporting Lisbon, while the only Italian side left in the competition face a daunting encounter with German champions Bayern Munich. The first legs will be played on March 10-11 and the second legs will be played on March 17-18. The 8 seeded teams who finished in the top 8 spots in the league phase will be at home for the second legs against the 8 teams who qualified through the playoff round. Now next, Pakistan is facing a make-or-break finale to the Super 8s stage at the 2026 T20 World Cup, as it must overcome already eliminated Sri Lanka by a significant margin to reach the semi-finals. New Zealand currently holds second spot in the 4-team group, but its defeat by England on Friday opened the door to Pakistan to climb into second spot. Pakistan, meanwhile, is batting against co-host Sri Lanka in a match underway at Sri Lanka's Palkele International Cricket Stadium. Pakistan's campaign started on a nervy note with a 3-wicket win in a thrilling last-over finish against the Netherlands before overcoming the United States and Namibia. In between, they lost heavily to India in a highly anticipated clash in Colombo. Whereas Sri Lanka's start to the Super 8 stage was a stark contrast to the group. However, it has crashed to defeats by England and New Zealand, ending its hope of reaching the semi-finals on home soil. This brings us to the end of this bulletin, but before we wrap up, let's have a recap of the headlines. US and Israel launch attack on Iran. Trump says massive operation underway. Iran also launches retaliatory attacks. Nepal government issues safety advisory for Nepalese in Iraq and Iran. Also urges to maintain communication with the Nepali embassies in Tel Aviv and Doha. Nepal's election commission completes all preparations with just 5 days to go for polls. Over 18.9 million eligible to cast ballots. International calls grow as Pakistan and Afghanistan engage in cross-border fighting for a third day. Pakistan, however, rejects dialogue. At least 15 killed after military plane carrying banknote crashes in Bolivia. Police fire tear gas to disperse crowds trying to take banknotes. And Real Madrid to face Manchester City in Champions League last 16. Chelsea drawn against holders PSG. That's all here for the moment on Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Do join us through our social media and visit our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Swayambhunath Rajak. Thanks for staying with us here. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting, PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World. Facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal. Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World. Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the Hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
This is The World This Week, your weekly roundup of the latest international events and updates. This is me, Bhavana Casey. In this edition, we bring you the stories making headlines across the globe, from high-stakes stand-up space missions to cultural milestones and remarkable human feats. We have all that you need. Let's begin with the rising tensions along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. Pakistan has struck major cities in Afghanistan, including the capital Kabul, as part of a wave of attacks across the country. The Pakistani strikes come after the Afghan Taliban announced a major offensive against Pakistani military posts near the border. Pakistan's latest operation came after Afghan forces attacked Pakistani border troops on Thursday night over earlier airstrikes by Islamabad. Relations between the neighbors have plunged in recent months since deadly fighting in October that killed more than 70 people on both sides. Islamabad accuses Afghanistan of failing to act against militant groups that carry out attacks in Pakistan, which the Taliban government denies. Most of the attacks have been claimed by the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan (TTP), a militant group that has stepped up assaults in Pakistan since the Afghan Taliban returned to power in Kabul in 2021. Several rounds of negotiations followed an initial ceasefire brokered by Qatar and Turkey, but the efforts have failed to produce a lasting agreement. After repeated breaches of initial truce, Saudi Arabia intervened this month, mediating the release of 3 Pakistani soldiers captured by Afghanistan in October. Both Afghan and Pakistani militaries say they have killed dozens of soldiers in the latest round of border violence, which followed multiple strikes by Islamabad on Afghanistan and clashes along the frontier in recent months. As tensions flared, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif had said the country has the full capacity to crush any aggressive ambitions, with the defense minister declaring open war on the Afghan Taliban. The Afghan Defense Ministry reported 8 of its soldiers had been killed in the land offensive. An Afghan official has reported multiple civilians wounded near the Torkham border crossing at a camp for people returning from Pakistan. An Indian court has closed a corruption case against former Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal almost 2 years after he was arrested and held in jail for months. A court in India has closed a corruption case against former Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal almost 2 years after he was arrested and held in jail for months. The Aam Aadmi Party AAP leader was arrested in March 2024, weeks before India's general election, in connection with a liquor policy which authorities alleged gave undue advantages to private retailers. On Friday, the court cleared Kejriwal and 23 others, saying there was no overarching conspiracy or criminal intent in the excise policy. The judge also criticized the Central Bureau of Investigation (CBI) for its probe and recommended an inquiry against the investigating officer. The CBI has said they would appeal the verdict. The other AAP leaders, Manish Sisodiya, Sanjay Singh, were also arrested in the case in 2023 and are among the 23 cleared by the court. After their arrest, all three AAP leaders spent significant time in jail as they were repeatedly denied bail by the trial court and Delhi High Court before receiving relief from the Supreme Court. Kejriwal had accused the governing Bharatiya Janata Party BJP, which controls the police and investigating agencies in the capital, of plotting against him and targeting opposition leaders, allegations the BJP has denied. The court also has rebuked the CBI for building its case on statements made by approvers. As Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine enters its fourth year, Ukrainian President Zelensky says Moscow has failed to achieve its key war objectives and is urging European allies to maintain strong support for Kiev. Fighting continues across eastern Ukraine even as diplomatic efforts to end the conflict show little sign of progress. On the fourth anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had said Russia's President Vladimir Putin has failed to achieve his war goals. Zelensky later in a video addressed to the European Parliament urged the European Union to set out a clear timeline for his country's accession to the bloc on the fourth anniversary of the Russia's invasion.
And it is important for us to receive a clear date for joining the EU. Very important as a part of the diplomacy process right now, within all the diplomacy aimed at ending the war. And this is not just a wish. It's a clear understanding of how Putin will act. If there is no date, if there is no such guarantee, he will find a way to block Ukraine for decades by dividing you, by dividing Europe. We must protect ourselves from this.
The latest peace talks between Russia and Ukraine took place in Geneva earlier this month in the latest of several attempts to end the deadliest fighting in Europe since the World War II. The discussions reportedly focused on ceasefire agreements, humanitarian corridors, and mechanisms for prisoner exchanges. However, significant gaps still remain between the parties. Kremlin's spokesperson Dmitry Peskov, however, says the goals of what Russia calls the special military operation have not been fully achieved yet. Meanwhile, during a ceremony held at NATO headquarters in Brussels, NATO chief Mark Rutte say a promise of help does not end a war.
Because a promise of help does not end a war. Ukraine needs ammunition today and every day until the bloodshed stops. Ukraine continues to blunt Russia's aggression, and despite Putin's posturing, Russia has failed to meet their ambitions on the battlefield.
UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer, after opening his weekly cabinet meeting, said the UK stands with Ukraine for as long as it takes.
Let's be clear, in terms of getting to that just and lasting peace, it is Putin who is standing in the way. Volodymyr Zelensky has shown willing, he's taken the lead, it is Putin who is standing in the way, and that's why we must always double down on our support for Ukraine. That means capability, it means resource, it means more sanctions, and today I'm pleased that we're announcing the biggest package since 2022 in terms of sanctions package. That's 300 energy companies, Russian energy companies, that are being targeted.
The United Nations Security Council is also holding a meeting on Ukraine to commemorate the fourth anniversary of Russia's invasion of the country. The ongoing war in Ukraine has caused widespread damage to infrastructure, homes, and public services across multiple regions. Recent Russian missile and artillery strikes have targeted energy plants, transportation networks, and civilian areas, leading to power outages, water shortages, crisis and displacement of thousands of residents. Officials report that cities such as Zaporizhia and Kharkiv have suffered severe destruction of residential buildings, schools and hospitals, compounding humanitarian needs. The World Bank meanwhile has updated its cost estimate for Ukraine's reconstruction, raising it to $588 billion from $524 billion in its previous report. North Korea's ruling Workers' Party has reappointed Kim Jong-un as General Secretary at a key party congress in Pyongyang, reinforcing the Kim family's decades-long grip on power.
North Korea's ruling Workers' Party has again chosen Kim Jong-un to be its General Secretary, according to the state media. The announcement, which was made at a rubber stamp party congress in Pyongyang on Sunday, comes as little surprise given the Kim family has ruled by dictatorship since the late 1940s. State-run KCNA said that under Kim's leadership, North Korea radically improved its war deterrence, with the nuclear forces as its pivot. Despite long-standing international sanctions, North Korea has continued to build its nuclear capabilities, regularly testing banned intercontinental missiles. But the secrecy of the regime makes it harder to evaluate how much progress the military has made. Kim, who took control of the regime after his father's death in 2011, has invested heavily in the nuclear weapons program, turning Pyongyang into a far bigger challenge for the West and especially the US. Before it started, North Korea unveiled what it said was a range of nuclear-capable rocket launchers. The Congress has been held once every 5 years in the last decade. With some 5,000 party members in attendance, according to the KCNA, it offers a rare glimpse into the structure of political power in North Korea, which remains quite opaque to even the keenest watchers. The meetings are considered to be the most important political event and provide insight into where the country's priorities lie, from foreign policy to its nuclear ambitions.
UN Chief Antonio Guterres has warned that the rule of force is gaining ground globally, saying human rights are under a full-scale attack as powerful actors undermine the international law. Guterres also urged countries to defend global norms and accountability amid rising challenges worldwide. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has warned that the rule of force is spreading globally as powerful actors undermine international law and human rights. Addressing the opening of UN Human Rights Council's annual session in Geneva, Guterres said, human rights are under a full-scale attack around the world, highlighting growing challenges to global norms and accountability.
Human rights are under a full-scale attack around the world. The rule of law is being outmuscled by the rule of force. And this assault is not coming from the shadows or by surprise. It is happening in plain sight and often led by those who hold the greatest power. Around the world, human rights are being pushed back deliberately, strategically, and sometimes proudly.
The UN Human Rights Council's annual session in Geneva is a yearly gathering of member states and observers to review global human rights issues, debate country-specific situations, and adopt resolutions aimed at promoting accountability and protecting fundamental freedoms worldwide. NASA's Artemis 2 mission has been delayed after a problem with the rocket's helium system. The Space Launch System and Orion spacecraft were rolled back from the launch pad so engineers could fix the issue before the first crewed moon flyby in over 50 years.
NASA's highly anticipated Artemis 2 mission has been delayed after engineers discovered a technical problem with the rocket's helium system. As a result, the Space Launch System, or SLS, and the Orion spacecraft were rolled back from the launch pad so technicians can conduct thorough inspections and repairs. Meanwhile, the Artemis program continues alongside ongoing activities aboard the International Space Station. French astronaut Sophie Adenauer, currently in orbit, has reported being in excellent health and spirits after 14 days in space. At 400 kilometers above Earth, Adenauer is the first French woman in space in 25 years, following Claudie Hegnier, and her presence highlights the international collaboration that remains central to NASA's human spaceflight efforts.
In Syria's Aleppo, craftsmen are keeping ancient tradition alive by hand-making lanterns, symbols of light, joy, and spiritual reflection. The Islamic holy month of Ramadan has been long associated with a rich tapestry of customs and traditions that define its unique celebrations. Among this is the Ramadan lantern. A craftsman in Aleppo continues a 40-year tradition of making handmade lanterns, keeping alive a cultural craft that has been passed down through the generations. The artisan shapes lanterns using traditional techniques in his workshop, maintaining both the aesthetic and cultural value of the craft. The process involves collecting copper and glass, sorting the copper by type according to the lantern and design, engraving patterns, and finishing with polishing. Lanterns play a central role in the Ramadan celebration, symbolizing light, joy, and spiritual reflection. They are used to decorate homes, streets, mosques, restaurants, shops, and hotels throughout the holy month. Despite challenges such as rising material cost and limited markets, the craft continues to represent a symbol of Syrian heritage. A daring rescue of wild elephant took a terrifying turn in Sri Lanka when the exhausted animal charged at the very people who freed it. Villagers and wildlife officials breathed a sigh of relief after the wild beast finally retreated into the nearby jungle. What began as a desperate rescue mission to save a trapped wild elephant turned into a heart-stopping scene of chaos and fear when the distressed animal charged at the very people who worked to free it. Villagers first spotted the elephant helplessly stuck inside a deep muddy pit, exhausted and covered in thick slush after repeated attempts to climb out. The massive tusker struggled for hours, trumpeting in frustration as its legs slipped back into the muck each time it tried to escape. Alarmed by the situation, local residents alerted wildlife officials, who later arrived with heavy machinery, including backhoe loaders, to dig a sloping pathway to help the animal climb out safely. For nearly an hour, officials and villagers worked side by side, carving out a path of freedom. Finally, with the newly created escape route ready, the exhausted elephant hauled itself out of the pit. What happened next left everyone stunned. Just moments after reaching solid ground, the elephant suddenly turned aggressive, trumpeting loudly before charging straight at the crowd. After several tense minutes, the elephant abruptly stopped its rampage and lumbered away into the nearby jungle. Officials believe the animal may have acted out of fear and confusion after a stressful and exhausting ordeal. A baby monkey named Punch at Japan Zoo that was abandoned by his mother and raised by zookeepers has now become a global attention.
A baby monkey raised by humans at a Japanese zoo has become a popular attraction, clinging to a stuffed toy orangutan that he has grown up with. The baby monkey named Punch was abandoned by his mother after she gave birth to him in July last year at Ichikawa City Zoo in Chiba Prefecture. Zookeepers decided to raise him through bottle feeding. When they gave Punch a stuffed orangutan as a surrogate mother to cling to, he apparently started developing an emotional bond with it. Since Punch was brought back into a monkey mountain on January 19, his adorable habit of holding on to the stuffed animal and dragging it along with him wherever he goes has made him a popular attraction at the zoo. Zoo officials say monkeys raised separately by humans often face difficulty in integrating with other monkeys, which may show hostility. Zookeepers say they often saw Punch left all alone in the monkey mountain soon after he was released there. More recently, Punch has started making greater efforts to approach other monkeys, as if to show that he wants to be one of them. The sight of Punch making desperate efforts has drawn sympathy from people all over the world.
Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another has dominated the BAFTAs, taking home 6 awards including the Best Movie, in a major boost to its award season's campaign.
Please welcome your host for this evening, Alan Cumming.
And welcome to the EE BAFTA Film Awards 2026.
And the BAFTA goes to One Battle After Another.
Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another continues its award season's streak by winning 6 awards, including the top prize at the BAFTAs. With Royals and even Paddington Bear present, the British Awards recognize homegrown talent across categories, including Robert Aramayo triumphing over established stars Timothée Chalamet and Leonardo DiCaprio to snag the Best Actor honor for his portrayal of a man with Tourette syndrome. In addition to its Best Movie win, Anderson's movie was recognized in categories such as Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Cinematography, Best Editing, and Best Original Score, cementing its status as a critical favorite. It is said that the sweeping success underscores both Anderson's enduring influence in contemporary cinema and the film's resonance with audiences and critics alike. The Maslenitsa festival has been celebrated in Russia's Kaluga region by the burning of a 25-meter art structure. The event marks the end of winter and the start of Lent for Orthodox Christians. The spectacular ritual, which draws crowds from across the region, symbolizes the end of winter and the arrival of Lent for Orthodox Christians. Maslenitsa, sometimes called Butter Week or Pancake Week, is a traditional Slavic holiday celebrated with music, dance, feasting, and various artistic performances. The burning of the monumental wooden structure is considered the festival's climax, representing the symbolic farewell to winter and the welcoming of spring. Festival organizers describe the event as both a cultural and spiritual celebration, blending folk traditions with modern artistic expression. Maslenitsa remains one of Russia's most vibrant and widely celebrated holidays, showcasing the enduring connection between traditional customs, community celebrations, and artistic expression. The week-long vibrant celebrations of Rio de Janeiro's Carnival have come to a close. The final night of the Sambadrome marked the conclusion of one of the world's most iconic samba parades and colorful performances. Paraiso Samba School took part in the final night of Rio de Janeiro's Sambodromo parades with a spectacular and politically charged celebration of the ancestry, resilience, and resistance of Black communities from Africa, Cuba, and Brazil. The performance featured elaborately decorated floats, intricate costumes, and high-energy choreography, combining traditional samba rhythms with powerful storytelling elements to highlight the historical success and struggles and cultural contributions of the African diaspora. Judges and spectators alike noted the school's emphasis on both artistic excellence and social messaging, a hallmark of Paraiso's recent carnival presentations. Organizers say the parade sought not only to entertain but also to educate audiences on the enduring legacy of slavery, colonialism, and systematic oppression, while celebrating the enduring cultural richness and creativity of Black communities. Thousands of attendees lined up to witness the school's performance, which culminated in a grand finale blending with music, dance, and visual spectacle. Well, this vibrant celebrations of Rio's Carnival brings us to the end of this episode of The World This Week. We hope you enjoyed as much as we did bringing it to you. We shall see you again next week with a new episode. Also, do follow us on our website www.nepaltelevision.com, our social media handles, as well as our YouTube channel. Till then, take care and bye-bye.
दुधकुण्डमा जानुभएको छ, म पनि पुगेर आएँ। दुधकुण्ड असाध्यै पवित्र स्थल, यो हिमाल काखमा रहेको तीर्थस्थल हो, पुण्यस्थल हो, देवस्थल हो र त्यहाँ चाहिँ एकचोटि पुग्नै पर्दो रहेछ। त्यहाँ पुगेर जुन आनन्दको अनुभूति हुन्छ त्यो चाहिँ कहीँ पनि पाइँदैन भन्ने चाहिँ महसुस भयो।
आनन्द लाग्यो, मस्त लाग्यो। अनि यो ठाउँमा चाहिँ आएर तपस्या गरेर बस्नु जस्तो लाग्यो मलाई।
एकदमै राम्रो लाग्यो होइन, प्रकृतिले दिएको रमणीय तीर्थस्थल होइन। जो कोही पनि एकचोटि चाहिँ यहाँ आएर एकचोटि भ्रमण गरेर दर्शन
Power is often misunderstood. We think of it as control, coercion, or even command. But history shows that the most durable power is persuasion without force, what we now call soft power. Welcome to Geopard. I'm Shivani Thapa Bosniak. My guest today does not speak or carry emblems around, yet globally he may be one of Nepal's most effective representatives. A Grammy nominee, a global music collaborator and creator whose music carries Nepal into spaces diplomacy rarely reaches. Let him introduce in the language that he best speaks to the world.
शान्त मनमा शान्त जगमा मृग तृष्णा सरी जीवनमा के छ पाउनु भन के नै गुमाउनु गोधले किन मान्छे यहाँ आफ्नै भुलमा पनि एक्लै एक्लै यहाँ गाली र दोषको भुमरीमा रुमल्ली रुमल्ली रहन्छन् भोलि बुद्धकै भई आउनु बाँसुरी श्री कृष्णकै बजाउनु बुद्धकै भई आउनु बाँसुरी श्री कृष्णकै बजाउनु मृग तृष्णासरी जीवनमा के छ पाउनु भन के नै गुमाउनु
And that possibly was the best language the audience could read you. Manoj Sneha, dear viewers, the first ever Nepali Grammy nominee to the world. And this is the language that the world understands from Manoj, from what they, and how they read Manoj and how they read Nepal. Welcome to Geopod, Manoj.
Thank you, Shivani.
The first time I saw you performing, I stood there questioning myself who this guy is.
Playing the bamboo flute.
Right. Yeah. And I'm sure many can relate to that very quick. Before we talk about music, who were you before music happened?
Let me go back. I grew up in Bodh, Kathmandu, and I think I was 8 years old. I was in my bed, and there was no electricity, and the dark of the night, a very mystical sound I heard. It was so, something so magical that changed my life. So before that, I think I was just a kid trying to,
An 8-year-old.
8-year-old, yeah. I'm still looking for that sound. I'm still longing for that sound. And in that process of looking for that sound, I got to meet all this beautiful sound. I'm actually sure that was the sound I heard is Lord Krishna playing flute. And that's my inspiration still now to look, how could something can be so beautiful?
Right. I can visualize. As you talk, I'm visualizing an 8-year-old around a very, a very picturesque and a very rich setting like Bulletin, running around playing with his mates, probably marble or chungi or something like that,
totally,
right?
Totally.
And then you grew up in this city, so vibrant, with so sounds, right? Temples, bells,
That's right.
monasteries.
That's right. Monasteries.
And there's silence as well, the streets, right?
Yep.
When did you actually realize this was not only a sound of the background, but your calling?
When we do something, like a project, there's a process. The music, I'm talking about the inner music. Of course, the world has, everything has a sound. Even there's no sound, there's a sound. There's a live sound, there is not a live sound. Even the noise is a sound in the right context. Noise can be music in the right place, no? Since I was a real kid, I have a very distinct clarity of a different sound in my ear. To have the clarity in that sound, the shades of sound, the longing for it, the motivation to look for that sound, that connection, whatever you call it. You can say my spiritual awakening, but that's what made me...
So it was natural and inborn to you.
Right? And that's a process of, looking for, instruments and people and music.
And how did training and technique happen to you? At what age?
My house is in front of Bodhanath Stupa. In my 3rd floor, I look, there's the eyes of Buddha looking at me. Our prayer flags are fluttering, the Tibetan horns, the monastic sound, the prayer wheels. Can you imagine? to able to just be there, to just witness that as a kid. And, you know, just walk down, you go to Pashupatinath there, you know, sit in front of, you know, all the sadhus and the, you know, the ghats. It's for a kid to have that experience, to realize our life is so precious. And same time, it's not something to have the ego for it, because everyone has to somehow, you know, right. to able to see that. It taught me so much, Shivani. It taught me so much to be who I am today. It's taught to, you know, we have seen what teaches us who we are in the depth. Who am I? Real me. Who Shivani? Who Manoj? Who real I am? That's a beautiful question to ask.
Right. So the large part of what you are today, or what you have been able to cater to the world, is the surroundings that you grew up in. That's exactly what you're trying to say.
It is really influenced by that. I'm very grateful for that.
When did you actually realize that this is going to be your language for the world for the rest of your life?
You know, I never thought I would take this journey as a profession. I never even. I could just play a note in the bamboo flute, my bansuri. Just one note all day, and get so satisfied inside. And I would hear, you know, it will melt me so deep inside. I'm so happy. Wow, how could something be so beautiful? You know? And that also drive me to practice. You know, again, look, there's a motivation and there's a drive for practice, which was, nobody's telling me to do that. It was the inner fire. Inner fire, oh my God. I'll wake up first thing, I'll think about practicing. I'll go to bed, think about practicing next morning. It's like total in love.
So you're like, drawn to it naturally.
Oh my God, I could not stop. I could not. I just practice for I would practice for let's say 6-7 hours a day or 8 hours a day. Even in my sleep, I will be practicing. In my thoughts, you know, this. And so practice sort of drove me to the places that people started to recognize me. You know, like, oh wow, this guy is not normal. He's not normal at all. So, you know, I was very fortunate. Kiratiswar Sangeetashram is one of the pioneer place that was started the full moon concert, devotional music and plus Nepali Shastriya Sangeet, last 35 years. So every full moon they do the free concerts. So I was able to meet my teacher there, Sri Madandev Bhatta. He saw the potential on me and he started to you need to learn. Wow, you know, to find a teacher with that drive, my God. Now, Swargiya Homnath Upadhyay, he was, you know, one of my influence then. And then I met Dr. Davis Chandra Regmi, you know, all these people, Atul Gautam. And these are the, you know, the pillars that time to kind of bring me to this music scene. And I started coming to Radio Nepal, Nepal Television then, and slowly finding my way. Actually, the music can make a profession. They start to understand, wow, people want me to come play with them, and they want me to pay. You know, I remember playing for one project for that German, what is it, Goethe Institute?
Goethe Institute,
yes,
right,
and
right.
I played in that time Royal Academy, we used to call that. And after the concert we did, my part was just, you know, 5 minutes playing, and they handed me 7,000 rupees. That was lots of money then. And I thought it was a mistake.
Oh my God, this must have been like almost 3 decades ago, was it?
Yes,
wow.
yes.
You must have been a kid then.
I was a kid. I was like a 17,
teenager
18.
probably,
yeah,
right.
17, 18, and I'll do music every day just because I love it so much. And it heals me. As you know, music has so much healing power. Yeah.
Right. Let's talk about your signature instrument, Basuri. So deceptively simple it is, right?
Yes.
Right. Just a bamboo and breath.
That's right.
At least for a layman like me, who is not like an expert in music. Why did something so minimal as Basuri, as we see it, felt so powerful enough for you to carry it as an instrument to express yourself?
That's a beautiful question. Basuri is not just a Nepali thing. It goes everywhere in the world. Everywhere. If you really look at the history of the flute, the oldest instrument they have found so far in the world is a flute. It's made out of bone.
Really?
Isn't that amazing? So something with the wind, with the breath, and going through the cylinder, and even like Bhagwan Krishna. He's playing it.
What is this thing? I've heard and read so much about, the Krishna element of your musical journey somewhere. I don't exactly remember where. What is this element about your musical journey and the fascination with the
I'm
Basuri?
inspired by very much of Mahabharata, and what Krishna was guiding Arjuna. I get, life is a book. You have a choice to believe or not, whatever it is. But personally, it helps me to bring that Krishna element in my music, And when I close my eyes, when I play, it's brings me to the place of non-duality. Wherever I go, wherever I play in Japan or Chile or you name it, on 2 notes I play, energy shifts. I don't have to speak a language. I don't have to worry about how I look. I don't have to worry about my color of my skin. I would love to see the world that, they celebrate. Just each culture can celebrate their and
the universality of it, the harmony it disseminates.
Exactly.
I can't really wait, Manoj, for you to pick that flute out there and do that magic. I don't feel the need and the urge to, speak more and just let this flow, because this, I believe, is a music coming from a soul meant to cater to the soul, right? In this age, Manoj, where, majority of the artists who are, chasing mastery in whatever they're undertaking,
That's
you
right.
seem to have chased meaning.
That's the thing. More you know, less you know. I learn every day. Again, I learn from Everyone. You know, there's a sound, let's say there's a 7 sound, Satsur we call, Sa Re Ga Ma Pa Da Ni Sa. So within that, all the music, whatever here, it's inside that thing. But how mysterious it is for me is what is audible and what is not audible. It just because you cannot hear, it's not audible. It doesn't exist. You know what I mean? For example, what we see right now is a certain frequency. For example, if you put a grasshopper, it will see the ultraviolet, but we won't. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist there. Our existence is so mysterious, and we think this is it. Oh my God, you're wrong. You're wrong. And so more you know, less you know, because it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And again, I'm coming back to sorry to bring in again the spirituality in the geopod, but that's where I surrender. What else?
How much music helps to dig deeper?
The power of music can really help to people to open their heart. You know, we talk about compassion, we talk about karuna, we can talk about, unity. So how to bring together a people in a place that there's no fear, complete trust. The world is a mess because they cannot trust each other. You cannot trust. I don't know why people not trusting each other. Personally, I think there's enough for everyone. There's plenty is given to us, but somehow we are. Maybe it's a human thing, We are afraid that we don't have enough. But music, I play for you. It's not going to cost anything, We share. My experience of going around the world, music and cooking together, that's going to bring the world together. So we need to share our culture, our music, our food, but the uniqueness of what we have, it needs to be preserved.
Right.
It so need to be preserved. Otherwise, like for example, I was in Egypt a couple of years ago. All those temples are there, amazing temples. But there's no worshippers. They're just tourists. A temple without worshippers. Sometimes I worry about our country in that way. Can you imagine people stop going around Pasupati and Bodha and they just stay on their phone? My God.
Not everybody who comes to that seat, Manoj, talks with this intensity. Manoj, your journey took you far beyond Nepal. So you're currently based in?
I'm based in very near Silicon Valley in California. This place called Santa Cruz. It's a surfing town, beautiful place. And also based here in Kathmandu.
Your audience is wide and large, right? So many among these audiences, I believe, do not really understand the cultural or the musical or the linguistic roots that your work is coming from. What do you think they're connecting with?
We're all trying to get some love. That's it, at the end. When you're the mother, the child, we're looking for, mother's attention, and mother looks at the child, and that karuna, mamata, we call it, that's love. Just the facial expression of a child can release the oxytocin in your body, and that you have that caring energy for that child.
You're just the trigger.
Yeah, it's a for example, I just want to pick in geopod, like in this global world we live in. I mean, internet was created in USA, isn't it? If internet was not created, the world would be very, very different now. No? There is a plus, there is a positive side of it. The world has become very small in the information matter, but same time, we are feeling away from each other. We are feeling more separated. I wonder why. That's so interesting. So I'm telling this to myself as well. We need to connect more in inner net, not internet.
That's a wonderful way of putting it, right?
I know. This is how it is.
Right.
And it's amazing.
We've sort of lost touch of the internet owing to the internet,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So we need to reverse that.
Everyone is in the phone. Everyone. That's what one thing that disappoints me. It's everyone is so distracted. So distracted. Even me.
How difficult is it for creators like you? How has internet affected creators like you?
Oh, it's very disappointing some point, because the good things doesn't get to seen. The bad things get spiked right away. You know, that's the human psychology of survival. What sells? Violence sells. Sex sells. You know, so people are so put into that plate of survival, they cannot think of anything else, because they have to think of what they're gonna make next day, what they're gonna feed their children next day. If you're in that place, how can you think about, you know, being a wonderful unity place and creating music? You know, there's no time. So, for example, if there is too many dishes in your plate, then you're not going to appreciate any food because you don't know what to eat.
About your work, Manoj, your work is happening in a very, very unique space, a rare space. That's how I see it. You know, between Nepali folk music to Indian classical raga, and then there's also one of the very prominent part is the global spiritual element that you incorporate in your music, right? It's so rare, so unique, and so beautiful. Just out of curiosity, did you ever feel the pressure to simplify your sound for wider acceptance?
You know, that's one of my advantages of being in the West and able to play the bansuri. The way I played was it was almost like hybrid. I could play the way that was soothing for Western ears, because when I moved to US, it was around like in 1998, 2000, the yoga culture was very booming. And when I started to play, some of those, all the kirtans and the spiritual song, it was incorporated even into movies, big movie, Matrix and all this, they would use the Sanskrit mantras and all this in their background music, and so you can play the same note. For example, just give you a little bit of an example, Sivan, of this. Sounds very Nepali.
Right.
And it could be on the mountain. But if I say...
That's the signature of Manoj Newana.
So if I play same flute, but I'll... It sounds very different. It sounds very more towards, Scottish, Irish, that sound. Because the way they they play and how they incorporate the accent, the textures, is very different. Again, I'm coming back to the same. What kind of spectrum you are listening into? What you are, when the kid was bacha, when they are conceived, the first organ that developed was hearing. Yeah. So it's so interesting that the kids are listening all the things. The blueprint of that kid is deciding then what mom is listening. Isn't that amazing? And other thing, when you take a last breath, when you're dying, the last sense that's going to lose is also hearing. So you'll think the person is dead, but actually you'll be listening still, because that's the last sense you will have. So listening is such a big power.
Mm-hmm. Right, you're taking me to various zones. I thought I'd be talking about music and diplomacy, but here I am transported to some metaphysical. But this is wonderful to know. I can really gauge the intensity of a creator's mind and the creator's soul, right? Such a wonderful and warming conversation this has begun. And this is also making me wonder, when you perform abroad, Manoj, do you think primarily of the music, or are you always aware about your presence, Nepal, or audience? What is that awareness level when you really perform?
Well, to have this wonderful instrument, which is Nepali instrument, that's already, people are already, like the way I play, because of, again, why Manoj then? Why people want Manoj's sound? Because I'm so blessed, I'm grateful to Pasupatinath and Bodhanath. I had a advantage of somehow I could play that I can make my own accent that's soothing to the Western ear. Yesterday I got a call from Hollywood. They needed a track. Why they call me, There's so many flute players out there because they heard me and they like my accent. And there is so I'm grateful to that, because I was flexible. I didn't say this is my way and I'm going to stay that way, And I'm glad that I was able to, practice with the people and who are very open-minded, And in music, you have to be open-minded.
As a creator, from what I read from you, from this very, very short conversation I had, the ability to blend into the vastness of music or the earth itself is very, very important.
It's very important.
For a creator.
Very, very important. Coming to Nepal, for me, it inspires me so much. Tomorrow, I would request you one thing, Shivani. The first sound you will hear in your bed in the morning, the first sound when you wake up, notice that sound, if you can. The first tweet of the bird, which awakes the whole world, that tweet.
How does that make a difference?
Well, you'll know it.
You'll have to
I cannot explain, because that tweet is such a gentle tweet, but it's the most powerful tweet.
What is the power of music that political narratives don't?
So what kind of ripple you're going to create, how we're going to create, what are those elements going to help you? It all depends on that. And music is, again, it's music. Nobody can stop music, Music, the real music comes between the notes. It's the silence. I would love to see Nepal hosting World Music Festival. I would love to see that. Bringing some amazing musicians and bringing. I remember going to Indonesia a long time ago, and the government has initiated this festival, and they want all the instruments that made out of bamboo, and they chose me to be part of it. And everybody bringing the bamboo instruments, from drums to it was. So I want to request to our government and people who influence to bring world stage, give them a platform so they could celebrate, they can learn from here as well as collaborate with the musicians here, and not just music, dance, and cuisines, and we have so much to offer.
Do you not think Nepal lags hugely on the confidence side when it comes to music, that we largely wait for external validation?
That's our part of our culture, I would say. The one to say, The expectation, you know. Myself, you know, in my family, we are so not saying that we need to do it ourselves and we're going to do it. We think, oh, maybe my dad will do it, or my mother will do it. It's something that the expectation culture we have. That, you know, that kind of attitude. But again, it's now we need to move ahead. We need to open that door, and it's not just, and confidence comes again from the claiming our culture. We need to claim back our culture. We're so influenced by everything West is great. You know, everything comes from West is great. You know, there are great things about West, but we have also so many amazing things we have. We need to claim it, and then we can exchange. We can teach them. For example, you know, like yoga. All this come from our culture, isn't it? No. Now, I'm bringing my friend who's a yoga teacher who is teaching yoga to us. So, you know, you see that. That's so we need to.
How can you do it? Like, looking at your journey, what possibilities do you see if Nepal chooses to engage more internationally? You know, how can we do it?
You know, I just saw this documentary about Queen, our Queen, Lakpa Sherpa.
Lakpa Sherpa, right.
My God, it touched my heart so much. A single woman coming from a mountain, fighting all the way to, you know, this patriarchal society with her, you know, with her Western husband to, you know, like, she never gave up. Found her stage in the world. She plowed through. Nobody could stop her. No, this is the country where Buddha chose to be born. You know, he could have gone born anywhere, but he chose here. This is the place. We have so much to offer to the world. We have so many amazing. Nepali people are so resilient. They travel to find a better life for their family. They sacrifice everything. They go work so hard in 60 degrees Celsius heat. They climb mountains that no oxygen. They, you know, they go fight for others' war. You know, it's been like that for centuries. Now that needs to be stopped.
Right.
We need to work together. We need to come together as a brothers and sisters and put away all the differences, and make one song together. Song together we can all sing. That's what I think.
Right, wonderfully said. Manoj, let's talk about the Grammy moment. What was it like?
Oh my God. Well, you know, it was 2020. I've been very blessed to also to collaborate with some Westerner musicians. One of them was Deva Pramal and Miten. They were, you know, Miten and Deva, they were very inspired by Eastern philosophy. Also, actually, they were very inspired by Osho's world, and through that they got to learn a lot about the mantras and the beauty of what our music can bring to the people, the serenity, the healing power of music. So when they heard I'm playing the flute in such a unique way, they thought, "Wow, this boy is good." You know, so I started to collaborate with them, travel with them for almost like 15, 16 years. I've traveled so many places, and through them, their platform, I've really I've reached out to many people in the different countries, and one of the album that we did together got. Actually, Ravi Shankar's daughter, Anushka Shankar, is also guest artist in the album, and I was very lucky that we are. I mean, it deserved it. It was amazingly produced. And when I went to Los Angeles to be there with 10,000 people in the Staple Arena, it was amazing. I wore a Nepali dress and put my Instead of kukri, I put my bansuri.
Wow. Did it by any chance change you as a musician?
I don't believe in the place that you have to give an award to recognize music, you know. The music again, the music I play, it doesn't need anybody's validation. Music is so powerful, you know, and we all have our own songs. Nobody can tell you're not singing well, or you're not good enough. No, that's so wrong. So I want everybody find their own voice. So never tell your kid that you cannot sing. You say you sing. You have an amazing voice, you know, and you practice, it'll come to you.
From what I see, Manoj, is you're not only disseminating or giving away the things that you have in your soul, right? You're also gathering a lot of things in pieces, maybe in substance, and those that are intangible, from places that you travel and that you do intensively.
Yeah.
Right? So if you could walk us through a few, I'm sure our audience are going to love it.
Yeah, well, let me see, what can I do? I call this one Kachua.
Huh? Okay.
Look like a Kachua, no?
That's a Nepali name for it.
Nepali name, Kachua.
Okay.
But this one particularly comes from Russia. It's a part of, it's somewhere in mid-Russia. It's very beautifully carved, and they call it hand pan. It's quite popular nowadays. And yeah, I can play this for a little bit, huh?
Who would imagine something that looks so simple as this can do wonders?
If you look at it, it's all the bells put together. Like singing bowls, you know, it's, I'm sure you have gone to some sound healing. Basically, the sound of singing bowls, bells. Okay. Sounds like a bell. Beautiful, no? Your blood pressure will be down, your heart rate would be down, and you're in a place of just pure awareness. That's what we want.
As we head forward towards wrapping up this conversation,
Yeah.
Manoj, anything still unfinished for you, creativity or philosophically?
That's a beautiful question. You know, for me, it's now the practice is being present. You know, I don't long for, I want to, you know, win Grammy next, or I want to go that. It's again, it's just my fantasy now is more to practice to be present, to how to be present with myself, to improve, how to be more mindfulness, and how to create music that helps others. You know, like you don't need to, you know, change. I don't think you can change the country. It's not a. I think it's good to start with your own home. You know, your own room. Can you do some changes in your own room? So I'm working in my own room.
Fixing your internet. That's going to be.
If I can fix myself, maybe I can think of, you know. It's 40 plus year now. I realize the world is not going to be perfect. The fantasy we think, I don't think that's going to. There's always going to be something. You know, always. Just like the road I live in Bodo, there always somebody's digging for the last 30 years.
And you don't know what
it's so funny. Like, no, they built the perfect road, and next day they're already digging it. God,
and that never ends.
So I just like, okay, you know, you
so
can't
this is
beat
not
them,
going to
just
end.
join them.
And finish the work.
I know. So that's where I am.
That was a beautiful anecdote that you ended with. Well, words can take us this far. We know we can go on and on, but for now, thank you so much, Manoj, for coming over, sharing with us with this. I really am falling short of words, and I'm just wishing that I would have learned a few of these notes so that I could speak better to you, right?
Well, your voice, again, remember, it's not the instrument you're playing. It's every moment, every breath is so amazing. Think about your breath, how powerful it is. I would like to bring again the spirituality in our breath, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar. When you inhale, that's a Brahma, the creator. When you inhale the breath, the oxygen, the lungs, nerves are going to take up, oxygens. That's the Vishnu, the sustainer. If you don't breathe, you'll die. In 5 minutes, you're dead. No? And when you exhale, all the carbon dioxide, the things that you don't need, it's coming out. That's Maheshwar. That's transformation. So every breath, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar, Brahma, Vishnu. I tell you, Shivani, it'll change your day completely. It'll change you. It'll change your friends. It'll change your family. You just live in a total gratefulness.
Thank you, Manoj, so much. And I'm already thinking we'll need another session of interview to talk spirituality, which is again one signature of Manoj Sneva. Right. You'll have to be back for that. For now, thank you so much for the great wealth of insight and the depth of, the soul that you bring to this interview.
Thank you, Shivani.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to have you here.
Hope to see you again.
Hopefully, for sure. It's a promise. Power does not always announce itself. Sometimes it arrives quietly through breath, as Manoj Sneva so explicitly explains. Of course, bamboo, the magic bamboo that he brought us here, and memory. Manoj Sneva reminds us that long before nations speak, they sound. Thank you for joining us on Geopod. See you next week.
Kathmandu has long been known as a place where natural beauty, history, culture, and spirituality come together in remarkable harmony. Rising above the western side of the valley stands Swayambhunath, one of Nepal's most revered and ancient sites. Many simply call it Swayambhu. For countless generations, it has been a sanctuary of spiritual devotion, a place where the first light of morning touches the prayer flags, and where monks and devotees begin their day in meditation and worship. Swayambhu is cherished by Buddhists from all over the world, yet it holds equal significance for many Hindus. This shared reverence creates a rare sense of unity within its sacred grounds. The origins of Swayambhunath stretch back at least 2.5 millennia. Inscriptions and centuries-old statues found throughout the site testify to its long-standing presence and its profound cultural importance. The stupa itself is one of Nepal's traditional religious landmarks, crowned by the serene eyes of the Buddha that gaze out across all 4 directions. These eyes are regarded as a message of compassion, awareness, and peace for all beings. For Buddhists, the stupa and its symbols become a guide toward understanding the teachings of the Buddha. For Hindu visitors, the temples and images of deities within the complex hold deep spiritual meaning of their own. In 1989, Swayambhunath was formally recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, an honor that elevated Nepal's cultural identity on the global stage and helped protect this extraordinary place for future generations. The surroundings of Swayambhu offer many places of interest. Pilgrims and travelers often find themselves captivated by the calm atmosphere and the panoramic views over the Kathmandu Valley. The architecture of the complex reflects a graceful blend of Nepali and Tibetan influences. The stupa follows ancient Nepali design traditions, while the monasteries and retreat houses that surround it reflect elements of Tibetan craftsmanship. These two styles together give Swayambhunath a distinctive character found nowhere else. Preserving Swayambhu is not only a religious responsibility, it is an effort guided equally by historical and cultural commitment. The temples, statues, and inscriptions within the complex carry stories that span centuries. The main stupa, crowned by the 4 compassionate eyes, remains the heart of the site. Monks gather each day to meditate and study. Within these halls, Elaborate paintings and sacred sculptures portray episodes from the life of the Buddha and remind visitors of the spiritual traditions that continue to flourish here. The entrance to Swayambhunath features a gate designed to convey purity and reverence. Sculptures and painted figures on the gate reveal the guiding ideals of Buddhist philosophy. Scattered around the grounds are ancient inscriptions that preserve the history of the land. Statues of various Buddhas stand alongside images of Parvati and Shiva, creating a space where cultural diversity and shared devotion coexist with harmony. Swayambhunath is one of Nepal's most visited destinations. Its landscapes, spiritual gravity, and cultural richness draw people from around the world. Each year, millions of visitors, both local and international, climb the steps leading toward the stupa. Their presence contributes greatly to Nepal's tourism economy and to the livelihoods of those who live and work nearby. Quake of 2015 brought significant destruction to Swayambhunath. Several structures collapsed and many priceless sculptures were damaged. The impact on the site's cultural heritage was deeply felt throughout the country. Yet, the response to this tragedy revealed the strength of the community. Local residents, government agencies, cultural experts, monks, and international organizations came together to restore the complex. The rebuilding process became more than a physical reconstruction. It became a spiritual effort guided by devotion and the hope of preserving peace and compassion for future generations. Today, visitors find improved pathways, restored shrines, and safe spaces from which to explore the site. Nearby, guest houses and small hotels offer comfortable places to stay for those who wish to spend more time experiencing the surroundings. For many, Swayambhu is not only a religious landmark but a symbol of introspection and inner calm. The peaceful environment encourages reflection. The sacred presence of the stupa gives visitors a sense of quiet strength. The eyes of the Buddha seem to guide those who come seeking balance, clarity, or a moment of stillness. As the sun rises, its light glimmers on the golden pinnacle of the stupa. And as the night falls, the view of Kathmandu from this hilltop feels almost otherworldly, as though the city below is touched by a gentle glow. Swayambhunath continues to stand as a reminder of the spiritual harmony that has shaped Nepal for centuries. It invites every visitor to pause, to breathe, and to discover a deeper part of themselves.
Welcome to another episode of the Hinterlands on NTV World. This weekly show brings together stories from the hinterlands of Nepal, takes you beyond the cities and highways into the heart of Nepal's rural landscapes. I am Rosina Rai and we will be leading you into this journey every week. We begin tonight with the pulse of the nation. As the House of Representative election in Nepal draws near, political campaigns have reached a fever pitch nationwide. However, with heightened activity comes increased scrutiny. Numerous reports of code of conduct violations are surfacing across the country, nowhere more so than in Janakpur Dham, the capital of Madhya province, where violation remains at an all-time high. Election activities, including door-to-door campaigns coupled by extensive social media use, have intensified as Nepal's House of Representatives election approaches. Alongside, incidents of violation of election code of conduct are increasing, with Dhanusa in Madhya province reported to have the highest number of breaches. Dhanusa District Administration Office has removed more than 20,000 publicity materials that violated the election code of conduct. As parties and candidates did not pay heed to the directives of the office, it had to remove the pamphlets and other campaign materials by itself. Though Chief District Officer of Dhanusa, Prem Prasad Luitel, has warned of strict legal action against violators, the trend remains unchecked.
जनकपुर क्षेत्रमा चाहिँ धेरै मात्रामा यो आचार संहिता उल्लङ्घनको घटना भएको यसलाई हामीले चाहिँ नियन्त्रण गरेका हौं आचार संहिता पालना गर्नुपर्छ भनेर यसलाई हटाएका हौं.
Since all districts in Madhya share border with India, many polling stations are classified as highly sensitive. Understanding the security sensitivity of most of the polling stations in Madhya region, the candidates and parties have been advised to be more responsible in code of conduct adherence.
तब त्यो कन्ट्रोल हुन्छ अनि जनताहरु पनि आफ्नो मतको निर्भीक रूपमा अधिकार प्रयोग गरेर भोट दिन पाउँछन्.
People at large are concerned that continued violations could threaten the fairness of the election ahead. While the political machinery buzz nationwide, the movement of people in borders to India tell a different story. As the country gear up for the March 5th polls, the Srinagar border in Kailali saw a hive of movement. For some, the journey across the border is driven by the ballot. For others, leaving homeland and leaving their family behind, it's a matter of employment and survival. Early in the morning at the Srinagar custom checkpoint in Kailali district, Nepal's open border with India, a long line of young men and women stretches as far as the eyes can see. Each of them carried a bag on their shoulder, their faces marked by exhaustion and determination. The lines at the border reflect a coexistence of journeys. Some Nepalese are crossing to return home and vote in the national election, while others are leaving the country in search of work and survival. Previously, most migrant workers returned only during festivals, but this year is different. Some have come back specifically to cast their vote in March 5th election. Despite years of hard work in a foreign land, they carry hope that their vote might bring change to the country they call home. For them, the election is a chance to choose leaders who could create the opportunities they have long been denied.
विशेष चुनावी माहौलमा देशको परिस्थिति देख्दाखेरि हामीलाई पनि प्रवासमा भएका साथीहरूलाई पनि केही अब देशमा हुन्छ होला परिवर्तन हुन्छ होला भनेर हामी अब प्रवासबाट अहिले चुनावी माहौलमै स्वदेश फर्किरहेका छौं.
Yet alongside hope, there is frustration. Those heading to India whisper to themselves, hunger is greater than voting. This is the reality for many Nepalese from Sudur Paschim province whose stories are mirrored across the nation. For years, they have traveled to Indian cities, taking on labor-intensive jobs to support their families. The open border, geographic proximity, and limited opportunities at home leave them little choice but to seek work abroad. Many young Nepalese leaving the country and a family behind speak of the same struggles: unemployment, lack of industries, and limited economic opportunities. They lament political promises of job creation are plentiful during election campaigns, but real change has been slow in coming. As Nepal heads to the polls on March 5th, Srinagar stands as a quiet witness to two parallel journeys, one toward the ballot box and another toward opportunity abroad. As the election fever climbs, so does the skepticism, or many feel left behind in various remote areas of the country. In Dolakha district, the Dalit community, a significant demographic in the district, expresses a growing sense of isolation. Despite the campaign hype, many feel there is no true leader for their cause in this race. Without representation at the decision-making level, they fear their daily struggles will continue to be overlooked by the very people seeking their votes.
In political circles of Dolakha district, located in the high hills of Bagmati province, the issue of representation is always on the script, but the story on the ground remains unchanged. Despite a population of over 14,700, the Dalit community feels systematically sidelined. The common grievance, while the broader leadership climbs the ladder, the community is viewed simply as a vote bank.
जुन माथिल्लो तलामा पनि यहाँ अहिले आएर यहाँनेर हामी सबै थोक गर्छौं भन्छन् अब आखिरी उनीहरु भोट हालेर जितेर गइसकेपछि यहाँनेर गाउँ फर्किने काम पनि गर्दैनन् दलितहरुलाई हेर्ने काम पनि गर्दैनन् त्यो कारणले चाहिँ हामीलाई चाहिँ त्यो नेता के होस् कि दलितलाई भोट माग्न मात्रै आउने हैन भोट हालेर पछि जितिसकेपछि नि यहाँ आएर समस्याको समाधान गर्छु भन्ने खालका नेताहरुलाई चाहिँ हाम्रो विचारमा चाहिँ त्यसरी हेर्ने र चुन्ने भन्ने खालको विचार.
This treatment is not due to lack of presence though. There are Dalit families in all 73 wards of the district. Yet the path to parliamentary leadership remains largely out of reach. Community members point to a frustrating cycle, a lack of widespread awareness combined with parties silencing the most vocal figures with small favors or temporary rules. This leaves the wider community in the shadows, prioritized only when it is time to head to the elections. For this March 5 election, the District Election Office has registered 33 candidates, including 19 independents. However, only 2 of these candidates come from Dalit community. Local advocates are now pushing for a change in the narrative. They argue that the days of being easily swayed by election day promises must end. The message that they are sending to the parties is clear. They are no longer interested in just filling out ballots. They are ready to lead.
It is not all about political disbelief in Dolakha. The district is also witnessing a quiet industrial revival. Post-earthquake heritage reconstruction has breathed new life into the stone-cutting industry. What was once a struggling craft is now a lucrative alternative.
The reconstruction of ancient temples and heritage sites following the 2015 earthquake has sparked a major revival for the traditional stone-cutting industry in Dolakha of northeastern Nepal. A prime example is a new temple currently under construction in Sailung Rural Municipality at a cost of approximately 20 million rupees, which relies entirely on these artistically carved river stones to maintain its traditional aesthetic. This surge in demand for heritage restoration has turned what was once a struggling venture into a highly profitable business for local entrepreneur like Ramkrishna Basnet. After abandoning plans to move abroad, Basnet established the Kalintok stone cutting industry in Bhimeshwar municipality in Dolakha. Basnet's journey, initially marked by significant financial losses for the first 4 years, finally shifted in his favor. Today, his business struggles to keep up with the massive market orders, leading him to open a second branch.
2-3 वर्ष भयो हामीले यहाँ लोकल काममा धारा मठ मन्दिर बाटोको चौताराहरुमा हाल्दैपछि अलि प्रचार बढी भयो अनि सबैले राम्रो रहेछ देखिने रहेछ लङ लास्टिङ हुन्छ हैन त्यसकै मार्केट रहेछ ढुङ्गाको मार्केट हाम्रो अल नेपाल छ ढुङ्गानी सहज हुने ठाउँमा लैजान्छ के हामीले.
His industry now provides a stable employment to 14 young men who have opted to stay in their home country rather than seeking labor work overseas. These local youths report that they can earn up to 200,000 rupees a month, wages that rival or even exceed what they might have made in foreign countries. While concrete buildings are becoming more common in rural villages, the demand for high-quality cut stone is rising rapidly for local taps and religious monuments and temples.
We'll look to the Eastern Hills for a success story. While Jumla's apples are famous nationwide, farmers in the east of Bhojpur are now experimenting with the commercial apple farming. It's a high-value gamble on climate suitability that is already showing sign of a fruitful harvest. Apple farming in Nepal is a rapidly developing high-value sector, primarily in high-hill districts like Mustang, Jumla and Manang. The program to experiment on the suitable climate to expand the apple farming in other high-hill districts across the country is ongoing priority of the government of Nepal. Meanwhile, in Bhojpur district of eastern Nepal, farmers in Ramprasad Rai municipality are successfully expanding commercial apple farming for the first time. The initiative is part of a grant program launched by the rural municipality 6 months back. Under this program, farmers received apple seedlings with 50% cost-sharing support from the ward office, a policy commonly used in Nepal to promote high-value crops in rural communities. In the villages of Samke and Tamalung, around 36 households have already begun commercial apple cultivation. The ward office has encouraged this shift by providing grants and technical support, motivating farmers to expand their orchards and adapt farming practices suitable to the region's hilly terrain and soil. Nearly 1,800 apple saplings were distributed, selected specifically to thrive in the local climate and geography. The initiative aims to develop the region as a pocket area for apple production. The agriculture section confirmed that the saplings are well suited to local conditions, ensuring better growth and higher yields.
कुन टोलमा के वस्तु लाउन सकिन्छ र कृषकलाई छिटो भन्दा छिटो चाहिँ आय स्तरको कृषकहरूको आय स्तर चाहिँ वृद्धि गर्न सकिन्छ भन्ने अभिप्रायका साथ मुख्य गरी सामके र तामालुङ हाम्रो यो ओडाको साबिक 3 र 4 को सामके र तामालुङको यो भागमा हामीले एक टोल एक उत्पादनको अवधारणा अनुरूप हामीले यो गरेका छौं र यो चाहिँ भूगोल पनि अलिकति माथिल्लो फाट भएको हुनाले यो स्याउ जात हामीले छनौट गरेर यहाँ स्याउ चाहिँ फल्छ भन्ने हामीले चाहिँ अनुमान गरेर कृषि प्राविधिक साथीहरुसँग पनि सरसल्लाह गरेर हामीले स्याउको कार्यक्रम यहाँ राख्यौं.
The municipality has also established humidity centers in Baigunta to store agricultural produce. Alongside fruit farming, the One House, One Tunnel program has been launched across all wards in the district. While transitioning toward commercialization, high-density farming, and modern techniques, it faces challenges from infrastructure's deficit. In this final report of the Hinterlands new episode, we move to the vibrant colors of Holi or Phagu Purnima, which is formally commenced in Nepal. The festival, a herald of spring and the victory of good over evil, began in the capital with the ceremonial raising of the chir, the traditional bamboo pole. As spring gently settles over Nepal, the vibrant festival of Holi, known as Phagu Purnima, begins with an age-old ritual in the capital, Kathmandu. The festival is celebrated over 2 consecutive days. The hilly region, including Kathmandu, celebrates on the full moon day of February, while the Tarai region celebrates 1 day later. Although the 2 regions observe the festival on different days, the essence remains the same, symbolizing the arrival of spring, the victory of good over evil, and the playful love of Lord Krishna and Radha. At Basantapur in Kathmandu, 1 week ahead of the festival, ceremonial chir, a bamboo pole decorated with colorful strips of cloth, is erected at an auspicious hour, marking the official start of the festival. The erecting the pole has historically been carried out by the local Manandar community. This ritual is known as Chir Soyagu. The pole stands for about a week, during which the surrounding area becomes a focal point for celebrations. At the end of the festival, the bamboo pole is taken down and burned in a ceremonial bonfire at Turikel. People often collect pieces of cloth from the pole to keep in their homes, believing they bring good luck. Far to the south, in the Mithila region, the vibrant festival also begins with the Mithila Madhyama Parikrama, or the circumambulation of the region. The ritual is considered the traditional and formal starting point of Holi festival in the Mithila Anchal region of Nepal. Participants, including saints and devotees, smear abir, colored powder, on one another and offer it to the idols of Lord Ram and Sita, marking the commencement of the festival. This tradition commemorates the belief that Lord Ram and Janaki once celebrated Holi in this sacred land during the Treta Yuga, one of 4 ages in Hindu cosmology. Devotees begin parikrama on Falgun Shukla Pratibhada and travel through several holy sites before reaching Kanchanban on Falgun Shukla Saptami. The area revered for the confluence of the Ichavati and Bira Raja rivers becomes a vibrant gathering place for saints, temple heads, community leaders, and devotees. From the historic courtyards of Kathmandu to the sacred grounds of Mithila, Holi, one of Nepal's auspicious Hindu festival, carries a deep religious significance. Beyond that, it rejuvenates the heart and soul with renewed energy, encouraging people to forgive, forget, and embrace new beginnings. Rosina Rai reporting for NTV World. That's all for this edition of the Hinterlands. Whether you are heading to the polls or heading home for the festivities, stay safe and stay informed. Also, do follow us on our website www.nepaltelevision.com, social media handles, and our YouTube channel. I am Rosina Rai. Thank you for watching NTV World.
सिम्रौनगढ दरबार खुल्ला इतिहास, कला र संस्कृतिको एउटा संग्रहालय। इतिहास, सभ्यता र कलाको रहस्य बोकेको सहर सिम्रौनगढ। एउटा छुट्टै इतिहास रच्न सफल सहर सिम्रौनगढ। ऐतिहासिक, सांस्कृतिक र पुरातात्विक महत्व बोकेको सिम्रौनगढ दरबार मध्य प्रदेशको बारा जिल्लामा अवस्थित सिम्रौनगढ नगरपालिकामा पर्दछ। बारा जिल्लाको सदरमुकाम कलैयाबाट 20 किलोमिटर दक्षिण पूर्वमा रहेको सिम्रौनगढ नगरपालिकाको कार्यालयबाट करिब 500 मिटर दक्षिण पश्चिम गएपछि सिम्रौनगढ दरबार पुग्न सकिन्छ। सिम्रौनगढको सम्बन्ध सिमलको वंशसँग रहेको तथ्य नेपालमा प्राप्त सबभन्दा पुरानो वंशावली गोपालर वंशावलीले प्रस्ट्याएको छ। सो वंशावलीमा यस स्थललाई सिमरावनगढ भनी उल्लेख छ, जसको अर्थ हुन्छ सिमलको वनमा रहेको किल्ला। सिमलको वन रहेको यो क्षेत्र सिमरावनगढबाट अपभ्रंश हुँदै सिम्रौनगढ भएको मान्यता छ।
यो सिमरौनगढ नाउँ भने यहाँ पहिले सिम्बलको खाली रुख यहाँ सिम्बलको थियो। यो सिम्बलको वन भन्नु पर्यो नि, यहाँ सिम्बलको वनै वन थियो पहिले। यसको माझमा बीचमा नि यो गढ थियो, यो किला थियो यो गढ। त्यस कारणले सिम्बलगढ भनेर अपभ्रंश भई आएर सिमरौनगढ भन्ने हो। यसको सिमरौनगढको अपभ्रंश, सिम्बलगढको अपभ्रंश हो यो सिमरौनगढ।
कुनै समय एक सुरक्षित र सम्पन्न राजधानी रहेको सिम्रौनगढ दरबारलाई बलिया अग्ला चक्रव्यूह आकारका पर्खालले घेरिएको थियो। तत्कालीन राजा वीरेन्द्रबाट यस क्षेत्रको अवलोकन पश्चात पुरातत्व विभाग र इटालियन सरकारको तत्वावधानमा सिम्रौनगढको उत्खनन गरियो। उत्खननका क्रममा कर्णाटकालका पुरातात्विक, धार्मिक, सांस्कृतिक अवशेषहरू फेला पर्यो। सिम्रौनगढका पुराना अवशेषहरू आज पनि यत्रतत्र पाइन्छ। यहाँ डढेको चामल, माटोका भाँडा बर्तन, गरगहनाहरू पाइन्छ।
यहाँको धार्मिक इतिहास र पुरातत्व विभागको त सबै संरचना छँदैछ। यो मन्दिर छ, पुरानो मूर्ति छ, डढेको चावल पाइन्छ, कंगन कालीको स्थान छ, तलेजु भवानीको अहिले शिलाको बाकस राखेका छ, त्यो पनि छँदैछ। चारैतिर सुन बिखरेको पनि पाइन्छ। यो सबै पाइँदाखेरि त पुरातत्व भएन।
यस क्षेत्रको कचरवा गाउँमा माकराकृतिको टुटी भएको धारो, हरिपुर गाविसमा रहेको ढुङ्गाको बाकस निकै रहस्यमय छ। जति खन्दै जाँदा झन भित्र भासिनु यस बाकसको विशेषता हो। अत्यन्त कलात्मक रहेको यो बाकसको बाहिरी भाग मात्रै देखिन्छ, बाँकी भाग जमिनमा गाडिएको छ। स्थानीयले यसलाई बाकस, तिजोरी, सन्दुक भने पनि वास्तवमा यो के हो अहिलेसम्म पत्ता लाग्न सकेको छैन।
वो जमाना के शिवाजी महाराज के दरबार के तिजोरी है, पत्थर हो, राज उल्टन हो गए, पत्थर हो गए, ताला कुली सब बंद बा में, ताला बा कुली बा सब सहित बा।
बाकसको नजिकै खम्बा आकारको कालो ढुङ्गा छ। खम्बा सामान्य देखिए पनि 10-15 जना मिलेर पनि यसलाई टसमस समेत गर्न सक्दैनन्। ढुङ्गाको खम्बा झन रहस्यमय छ। स्थानीयका अनुसार यस खम्बालाई बाहिर निकाल्न खोज्दा यो झन जमिनमा भासिने गर्दछ। यो क्षेत्रमा बाढी आए पनि यो खम्बा डुब्दैन। यस प्रकार सिमरनगढ क्षेत्र पुरातात्विक दृष्टिकोणले समेत महत्त्वपूर्ण छ। सिमरनगढको सांस्कृतिक सम्पदाको दोस्रो स्थानमा यहाँका मन्दिरहरूलाई लिन सकिन्छ। सिमरनगढको बीच भागमा स्थापना गरिएको कंकाली मन्दिर ईंटद्वारा निर्माण गरिएको शिखर शैलीमा छ। मन्दिर चारैतिर चतुष्कोणाकारको भवनको बीचमा शिखर उठेर माथिसम्म चुलिएको छ। मन्दिरको चारैतिर खुल्ला गुम्बजाकारको प्रवेशद्वार निर्माण गरिएको छ। मन्दिरमा रहेका कंकालीको मूर्ति कालो प्रस्तरमा हुँदिएको छ। मूर्तिको गोलाकार अनुहार, ठूला आँखा, पुष्ट छातीले त्यस बेलाको विशेषतालाई दर्शाउँछ। देवीको गालामा हार, कानमा गोलाकार कुण्डल, कम्मरमा हार जडेको च्याप्टो पेटी छ। शान्त सौम्य मुद्रामा रहेको यो मूर्तिले कलामा छुट्टै स्थान ओगटेको छ।
यो सिमरनगढ भनेको कंकाली स्थान जो कि दुनियाँको सबभन्दा शक्तिपीठ राम्रो जहाँ बलि नै चढ्दैन। यो फेरि कंकालीमा सबै शक्तिपीठमा बलि चढ्छ तर कंकालीमा स्थानमा बलि चढ्दैन। त्यस्तो विशाल मन्दिर अनि यस्तो विशाल मन्दिर राम जानकीको मन्दिर यहाँ दुईटा छ। अनि यसको अलावा पनि यहाँ नानदेवले यानि कि 1097 ईस्वीमा सिमरनगढलाई राजधानी बनाएको यो नानदेव हो। नानदेवको 7औं पुस्ता जगह त्यसमा हरसिंहदेव, गङदेव, रामदेव सबै 7औं पुस्ता हो। अन्तिम पुस्ता चाहिँ हरसिंहदेव हो। हरसिंहदेवको पालामा ग्यासुद्दिन तुगलकले यहाँ आक्रमण गरेर सबै ध्वस्त पारिदिएको थियो। यस्तो यस्तो पूर्वाधारहरू छ। त्यही पनि हाम्रो सिमरनगढमा कसैको नजर छैन। यहाँ त म भन्छु कि यसलाई विश्व सम्पदा सूचीमा राख्यो भने सबभन्दा राम्रो हुन्छ। यहाँको नेताहरूले यसै माध्यममा भन्छु कि सिमरनगढलाई विश्व सम्पदा सूचीमा राख्नु जरुरी छ।
यहाँ रामनवमीको दिन ठूलो मेला लाग्ने गर्दछ। सामान्य रूपमा भक्तजनहरू आउने क्रम दिनहुँ नै रहन्छ। अहिले पनि यो क्षेत्रमा कंकाली माताको ठूलो महिमा छ भनिन्छ। त्यसै गरी चिताएको फल देवीले पूरा गर्छिन् भन्ने जनविश्वास समेत रहेको छ।
पहिलादेखि अहिले यो सालमा धेरै पर्यटक म 2-4वटा यो कामको सिलसिलामा बसेको थियो। शनिबारको दिनौ 1000 देखि 1500 मान्छे बाहिरबाट आउँछ। अब त्यसको लागि पनि हामी व्यवस्थापन गरिराखेका छौँ। त्यहाँ एउटा पूजा अर्चना गर्नको लागि बेलुका बिहानै आरती, जस्तै हरिद्वारमा तपाईँ गयो सक्नुहोला भने हेर्नु होला बिहानै र बेलुका गङ्गाको आरती हुन्छ। त्यहाँ पनि कंकाली मन्दिरमा हामी आरतीको एउटा छिटै व्यवस्था गर्छौँ। अहिले त्यो 2टा बोट पनि राखेका छौँ। मान्छेहरू पर्यटक आउँछ भने त्यसलाई घुम्नको लागि, त्यो पानीमा विहार गर्नको लागि, राम्रो वातावरणको लागि आउँदो दिनमा एउटा स्टिमर किनेर त्यहाँ राख्ने हामी पनि प्लानिङ गरेका छौँ।
कंकाली मन्दिर प्राङ्गणमा विभिन्न देवी देवताका अन्य मन्दिरहरू पनि रहेका छन्। प्राङ्गणमा रहेका मानसाराम बाबाको मन्दिर 3 मिटर उचाइ र 5.47 मिटरको चतुर्कोणाकारमा निर्माण गरिएको छ। मन्दिरभित्र मानसाराम बाबाको समाधि स्थल छ। समाधि अगाडि एक जोर खराउ छ, जसलाई मानसा बाबाको खराउ भनी पूजा गरिन्छ। प्राङ्गणमा शिव, पार्वती, हनुमान, विष्णु, विश्वकर्माको मन्दिर रहेका छन्।
कंकाली मन्दिर त धेरै पुरानो इतिहास बोकेको मन्दिर हो। त्यो मन्दिरको प्राङ्गणमा तपाईको कंकाली मन्दिर, मनसा बाबा मन्दिर, तपाईको विष्णु मन्दिर, तपाईको यो धेरै मन्दिरहरू छन्।
कंकाली मन्दिरदेखि करिब 1.5 माइलको पश्चिम दूरीमा रहेको छ रानीवास, जहाँ राम जानकीको मन्दिर छ। जंगबहादुर राणाका छोरा जीतजंगले विक्रम सम्मत 1935मा आमा हिरण्य कुमारी सती जाने बेलामा व्यक्त गरेको इच्छा बमोजिम यो मन्दिरको निर्माण भएको थियो, जुन यहाँको घण्टामा समेत उल्लेख छ। मूल मन्दिर भने 3 तहको पेटी माथि बनेको छ। मन्दिरभित्र राम, सीता र लक्ष्मणका धातुका प्रतिमाहरू प्रतिष्ठापित छन्। अगाडि जंगबहादुर, हिरण्य कुमारी लगायत परिवारका सदस्यहरूको प्रतिमा रहेका छन्।
पहिला 2224 को बेलादेखि यहाँ राजा शिवसिंहको पालीमा यो राम जानकी मन्दिर थियो र त्यसपछि नामदेवजी पनि आउनुभयो, त्यो उहाँको पालीमा पनि यहाँ राम जानकी मन्दिर र हाम्रो जंगबहादुर महाराजज्यू 1838 मा आएर हे भन्दा 9 हात अग्लो मन्दिर काठको नै बनाउनु भयो। त्यो प्रमाणै छ, आजसम्म इटमा लेखेर राखेको छ। र त्यसपछि 1935 मा हाम्रो जंगबहादुरको कान्छो छोरो जितजङ भनेर उहाँले नै बनाउनु भएको छ। उहाँको शिला यो जंगबहादुर महाराजको, उहाँको पत्नी, 2टा छोरी र एउटा कान्छो छोरो।
जंगबहादुर राणा जंगबहादुर पहिले यहाँ शिकार खेल्ने आउनुहुन्थ्यो। और शिकार खेल्दा खेल्दै यहाँ एउटा बासको रूपमा पनि शिकार खेल्ने, यहाँ बास बस्ने, अनि फेरि जाने, फेरि बास बस्ने, शिकार खेल्ने। अब यहाँबाट जाँदाखेरि पत्रहट्टामा उहाँको मृत्यु भयो जंगबहादुरको। अनि छोरो थियो जगतजङ। अब त्यसको बुवाको नाउँमा पनि यो मन्दिर निर्माण गरिदियो। यो मन्दिर विशाल मन्दिर त्यो उनको छोरोले बनायो।
मन्दिरको प्राङ्गण वरिपरि 2 तलामा चतुष्कोणाकारका धर्मशाला बनेका छन्। मन्दिर निर्माणमा त्यहाँका भग्नावशेषहरू प्रयोग भएको छ। समय समयमा प्राप्त भएको मूर्तिले सिमरनगढको महत्वलाई झन बढाएको छ। यहाँका मूर्तिकलाका रचनाहरूले सिमरनगढको सांस्कृतिक समृद्धिलाई पुष्टि गर्दछ। यहाँको मूर्तिकलाले आर्थिक रूपले समृद्ध यो राज्यमा कला र साहित्यले भरपूर उन्नति गर्ने मौका पाएको स्पष्ट हुन्छ। केही वर्ष अगाडि पुरातत्व विभागको सक्रियतामा कंकाली मन्दिर परिसरका मूर्तिहरूलाई मन्दिर परिसरमै घर बनाई संग्रहित गरिएको छ। त्यसै गरी सिमरनगढका केही मूर्ति र दरबारका अवशेषलाई राष्ट्रिय संग्रहालय छाउनीमा संग्रहित गरिएको छ। सिमरनगढको तोरणद्वारको टुक्रा संग्रहालयको भित्री गेटमै राखिएको छ। यस क्षेत्रमा अनेकन पोखरी र इनारहरू रहेका छन्, जसमध्ये इसरा, झरौखरा, राजाबादा, मनहरवा, आमवा, हथाइया प्रमुख छन्। इसारा पोखरी कंकाली मन्दिरको अगाडि छ। यो पोखरीको नाम राजा शिवसिंहकी रानी इसाराको नामबाट राखिएको छ। रानीवास मन्दिरको 1 किलोमिटर दूरीमा दक्षिणतर्फ खजहनी गाउँ छ। कर्नाट वंशी राजाहरूले खजाना राख्ने ठाउँ भएकाले यस ठाउँको नाम खजहनी भएको जनविश्वास छ। सो ठाउँमा अहिले पनि खेत, कुलो, माछा पोखरी खन्ने क्रममा पुरातात्विक वस्तु तथा मूर्ति भेट्न सकिन्छ। शान्ति, ऐश्वर्य र करुणाले धपक्क बलेको अलौकिक भाव र मुस्कानयुक्त चिल्ला काला ढुङ्गामा कुँदिएका मूर्तिहरूले यहाँको कलाको स्वतन्त्र र मौलिक शैलीलाई प्रस्तुत गर्दछ। मूर्तिमा पाइने आवरण र आभूषणले त छन् भक्ति रस र सौन्दर्य रस प्रदान गराउन सफल छ। मूर्तिहरूमा भाव अभिव्यक्तिको जुन मार्मिकता प्रदर्शित छ त्यसको जति प्रशंसा गरे पनि पूर्ण हुँदैन। अथाह पर्यटकीय सम्भावना बोकेको ऐतिहासिक र धार्मिक धरोहर सिम्रौनगढ दरबारसम्म पुग्नका लागि जनप्रतिनिधिहरू निर्वाचित भएर आएसँगै बाटोको सहज व्यवस्था भएको छ। सडक सुविधाका लागि नगरले पहल गरेसँगै आगन्तुकलाई केही सहज भएको छ।
मन्दिरको फुटपाथ निर्माण गरिराखेको छ। मन्दिरको फुटपाथ निर्माणमा तपाईको ब्लक लगाएर त्यो सौन्दर्यीकरण मन्दिरको भविष्य बाहिरबाट जुन पर्यटक आउँछ त्यो राम्रो कसरी हेर्न सकिन्छ, त्यसको आउने जाने केही कठिनाइ हुँदैन, त्यहाँ बस्नको लागि आउने जाने हेर्नको लागि त्यो कंकाली मन्दिरमा गरिराखेको छ।
सिम्रौनगढका बारेमा अहिलेसम्म स्वदेशी र विदेशी पुरातत्वविदद्वारा धेरै अनुसन्धान भएका छन्। यी अनुसन्धानहरूले सिम्रौनगढ कुनै बेला दक्षिण एसियाका समुन्नत राज्यहरू मध्येको एक राज्य तिरहुतको राजधानी रहेको प्रमाणित भइसकेको छ। तर उत्खनन हुन बाँकी नै रहेकाले तत्कालीन राजधानी सिम्रौनगढका राजाहरूले राखेका आधिकारिक अभिलेख फेला पर्न सकेका छैनन्। तर उनीहरूका पालामा बनेका पोखरी, मूर्ति, कंकालिनी मन्दिर, रानीवास दरबार लगायतका सामग्रीहरू अहिले पनि साक्षीको रूपमा रहेका छन्। यहाँ टाढा टाढाबाट बास बस्न आउने पर्यटकहरूका लागि भने राम्रो होटल अथवा आवास गृहको अभाव छ। सुविधा सम्पन्न होटल, होमस्टे निर्माणका लागि सिम्रौनगढ उद्योग वाणिज्य संघले आवश्यक पहल गरिरहेको छ।
त्यो बस्नको लागि त अहिले तत्काल 2वटा होटल छ, अरू पनि बनाउनको लागि सोचिरहेछ यहाँको व्यापारीहरूले, बनाउँछ भविष्यमा पनि। अनि यहाँ एउटा के छ हजुर कि हाम्रो सिम्रौनगढमा भारतबाट मेन आउने चाहिँ भारतबाट नै हो बढी पर्यटक। त्यसको लागि पहिला यहाँ छोटी भन्सार थिएन, भर्खर हामी यो 1 महिना जति पहिला सञ्चालन गराएछौँ। तर सरकारसँग पनि पहल गरेका छौँ कि कम्तीमा यहाँ मूल भन्सार होस्। मूल भन्सार भइदिएको भए गाडीको आवत जावत अनि चाहिँ इन्ट्री गरेर होस् या भन्सार गरेर होस्, त्यो हिसाबले पनि यहाँ आउँछ। सरकारले पनि राजस्व उठ्छ त्यसबाट, अनि देशको आम्दानी पुँजी हुन्छ, हाम्रो सिम्रौनगढको पनि विकास हुन्छ, अनि पर्यटकहरू पनि बढी यहाँ आवत जावत गर्छ।
यस क्षेत्रको संरक्षण र प्रवर्धनका निम्ति बृहत योजनाको आवश्यकता देखिन्छ। कला संस्कृतिको अंकुत भण्डारको रूपमा रहेको यस क्षेत्रको उत्खनन र न्यायोचित मूल्याङ्कन नगरिएसम्म नेपालको कलाकृतिको इतिहासको खोजी अधुरो नै रहने प्रश्न छ, जसका लागि गुठी संस्थान, पुरातत्व विभाग जस्ता निकायहरूको भूमिका महत्वपूर्ण रहन सक्छ।
सिम्रौनगढ उद्योग वाणिज्य संघबाट पनि यसमा देशमा अनि पर्यटक मन्त्रालयमा पनि हामी पठाएछौँ कि यहाँ जसरी भए पनि यहाँको पहिला हाम्रो सिम्रौनगढमा सबै सम्पदा छँदैछ, तर तिनीहरू लोप हुँदैछ। त्यसको लागि हामी पर्यटक मन्त्रालयमा, अर्थ मन्त्रालयमा पटक पटक बारम्बार चाहिँ हामी आफ्नो लिखित रूपमा पत्रहरू पठाएछौँ कि सरकारबाट पहल होस्, यसलाई जसरी जे जस्तो छ त्यसले व्यवस्थित गरोस् अनि राम्रो हेर्न भइदिएको भए पर्यटकहरू त्यहाँ आफै आउँछ नि। त्यसको लागि हामी उद्योग वाणिज्य संघबाट धेरै पहल पनि गरेका छौँ। पहल फेरि गर्नको लागि अनि एउटा टिम बनाएर हामी सोचिरहेछौँ कि यसको लागि एकचोटि माथि केन्द्रमा काठमाडौँ गएर एकचोटि पर्यटन मन्त्रालयमा गएर बसेर यसको कुरा राखेर अर्थमन्त्री कहाँ पनि जाओस्, प्रधानमन्त्री कहाँ पनि जाओस्, उहाँहरूको ध्यान हो कि यो सिम्रौनगढको पर्यटक स्थल कसरी राम्रोसँग यो यसको विकास होस् भनेर हामी पहल पनि गर्दैछौँ। हजुर
मंदिर के हमनी के निर्वास सिमरावनगढ़ कंकाली अस्थाना
उ सब जगह के हमनी के अच्छा विकास, अच्छा सुंदर देखे के चाहतनी। काहे तो मंदिर मैठबा इतना दिन से अभी नहीं सही बनी। आ कंकाली आस्थाना के हमनी के नेपाल के शान है। हमनी के नेपाल के शान के हमनी के अच्छा से आवरी स्वर्ग बनाई आ ये से आवरी सुंदर विकास करी।
ऐतिहासिक, सांस्कृतिक र पुरातात्विक महत्व बोकेको सिम्रौनगढको संरक्षण र प्रवर्धन पक्ष केही कमजोर भने अवश्य छ। तर समग्र मिथिलाको कला संस्कृतिको परिचय दिन सफल यहाँका पुरातात्विक सम्पदाहरू संरक्षणका लागि मध्य प्रदेश सरकारले रकम नै विनियोजन गरेर काम सुरु गरेको छ। बृहत गाउँ पर्यटनको सम्भावना बोकेको यस क्षेत्रको बहुमूल्य वस्तुलाई साँच्चै मूल्यवान बनाउन प्रदेश सरकार लागि परेको छ। मर्मत समाहारको अभावमा मन्दिर जीर्ण बन्दै गइरहेका बेला प्रदेश सरकारले गरेको यो पहल र प्रयास साँच्चै प्रशंसनीय छ। मानव अतीतलाई छातीमा समेटेर ऐतिहासिक धरोहरलाई सुरक्षित राख्न सफल सिम्रौनगढ दरबार घुमौं, मधेस चिनाऊ।
For centuries, the Kumal community of Nepal has lived closely tied to the earth, shaping clay, cultivating land, and sustaining a cultural identity rooted in indigenous skill, craft, and tradition. Recognized as one of Nepal's marginalized indigenous nationalities, the Kumals traditionally settle in the hilly regions and inner Tarai plains. Cultural practices and oral histories indicate that they have been part of Nepal's civilization since ancient times. As inhabitants of Nepal's fertile river valleys and plains, the Kumals have carried forward a deep-rooted tradition of earthenware craftsmanship, agriculture, and a rich cultural heritage that reflects centuries of resilience and adaptation. Their pottery has been more than household utility. It has been a marker of identity, livelihood, and cultural continuity. Today, as modern vessels replace handmade earthen vessels, the Kumals find themselves preserving not only a profession but a heritage passed down through generations. According to an ancient belief, clay work began at the time of creation when Prajapati, the son of Brahma, molded the first earthen vessel using Sudarshan Chakra of Lord Vishnu. The Sanskrit term Kumbhakar, meaning pot maker, gradually transformed, becoming Kumhar and eventually Kumal. Even today, pottery remains spiritually and culturally significant for the community.
Kumal settlements' soil is not just the ground beneath their feet. It is raw material, cultural memory, and a symbol of survival. The Kumal population is spread mainly across central Tarai districts of Nepal, namely across Lumbini, Gandaki, and Bagmati provinces. Traditionally, they rely on two main occupations, agriculture and pottery. Farms provided daily sustenance, while pottery supported household needs and served as a source of income. Community life historically revolved around extended family systems, with shared labor, collective participation in rituals, and a strong sense of belonging to ancestral land. Pottery for the Kumals is a detailed, multi-stage skill passed down through generations. The process begins with identifying the right soil. Black clay, the Kalo Matu, was traditionally preferred for its strength and texture. It was collected near riverbanks, ponds, and settled waterbeds. Among Tharu Kumals, this clay is also known as Kamaune Matu, meaning clay that earns. Clay is soaked, softened, and thoroughly kneaded. Using a tool called pasur, potters slice and cleanse the clay to remove impurities. In earlier times, bamboo tools were used instead of iron. The prepared clay is stored covered, maintaining moisture for shaping. The chakra or potter's wheel remains central to Kumal identity. Hands center the clay, fingers guide it, and experience shapes it. Tools like thap and pitani help refine form and smooth surface. Large vessels, water jars, grand pots, cooking pots, and ritual vessels were once part of every Nepali household, each bearing the touch of Kumal craftsmanship. Freshly formed pots are cut from the wheel with thread or leaf strips and set to dry. First in shade to prevent cracks, then under the sun. A reddish clay called Kabish Matu is applied for finish and strength. The firing structure, Awa or Auri, is built from wood, straw, husk, and cow dung. Pots are stacked carefully, forming a dome-like structure covered with hay and soil. The firing process takes up to 3 days. The Kumals maintain rich intangible heritage through customs, rituals, music, and dance. The Keli dance is one of the most distinctive cultural expressions of the Kumals. Traditionally performed by men dressed as women, it is associated with community celebrations and spiritual belief. The performance concludes with blessings for the household hosting the event. Marriage traditionally takes place within the community, though intercaste marriage, particularly with Magar communities, has become common.
आधा नेन बुढी चिउरा दाडी पक्कै नेन बुढी चिउरा पक्कैले बुढी चिउरा पुरै
Samdi fight is also popular in this culture, where fathers of bride and groom go through a physical battle as a part of entertainment. child's naming ceremony called Nwaran takes place on the 9th day for daughters and 11th day for sons, where a young unmarried girl narrates the name referred by the priest. Gon Ponni, a ritual where the mother burns bedding used during childbirth, is followed by baths. The child is then named and welcomed.
बोलाउने नाम आशिष कुमाल, देवताको नाम गोविन्द कुमाल, मेरो नाम सन्तोष कुमाल.
Grandmothers carry babies around the home, chasing the newborn with a catapult, symbolically granting strength and sealing belonging. Death rites emphasize purity, remembrance, and respect. The eldest son, or the one performing final rites, often standing inside a fishing net, performs final rites reflecting links to water-based livelihood and spiritual symbolism. Among the many Kumal rituals, ancestral worship, Kul Puja is considered the most important. It is performed in remembrance of those deceased in the family and is also known as Pitri Puja. The Kul Puja honors ancestors annually, while the worship of Singh Devta, urn-shaped forest deities, highlights ties to nature and livestock protection. The Kumal people speak their own indigenous language, Kumal, which belongs to the Tibeto-Burman family. However, due to increasing influence of Nepali language and modernization, the use of Kumal language has been declining, and community efforts continue to revive it through cultural programs and schools. Most Kumals practice Hinduism, worshipping deities such as Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and local protective gods and goddesses. Ancestral worship and belief in nature spirits hold deep cultural importance. Traditional attire for men includes white clothing and the dhaka topi, while women wear black blouses, traditional skirts, and red shawls, often adorned with local jewelry. With industrial materials such as aluminum, steel, and plastic replacing clay vessels, the demand for traditional pottery has sharply declined. Many Kumal families have moved to agriculture, labor, service work, or small businesses. Modern education and new employment opportunities are reshaping the choices of younger generations. Their hands do not merely shape clay, they sculpt culture, memory, and the foundation of Nepal's artistic soul. The Kumal community stands at a historic crossroads between tradition and modernity, memory and transition. Their identity is closely tied to clay, yet their future relies on adapting to changing socio-economic landscapes. Their story is not only about pottery, but resilience of a people who shaped Nepal's cultural foundation long before industry and technology. The preservation of Kumal heritage is not a matter of nostalgia. It is a recognition of indigenous knowledge, cultural diversity, and history shaped by hands that turn earth into life. If the story of Nepal is one of civilizations formed by soil and river, then the Kumal legacy will always remain at its foundation.
US and Israel launch attack on Iran. Trump says massive operation underway. At least 53 killed in attack on Iranian girls' school. Nepal government says it is closely monitoring situation in the Middle East. Issued safety advisory for Nepalis in Israel and Iran. People with disabilities call for accessible polling centers ahead of March 5 vote. Say equal participation hindered by inaccessible facilities. International calls grow as Pakistan and Afghanistan engage in cross-border fighting for a third day. Pakistan rejects the dialogue. At least 20 killed after military plane carrying banknotes crashes in Bolivia. Police fires tear gas to disperse crowds trying to take banknotes. And Real Madrid to face Manchester City in Champions League last 16. Chelsea drawn against holders PSG. Good evening, I'm Suveksha Rajak and you are watching NTV World News Hour, coming up to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in details. The United States and Israel has launched a wave of strikes against targets in Iranian cities, triggering explosions and columns of smoke in the capital Tehran. At least 53 people have been killed following an attack at a girls' school, according to Iranian state media. The office of Iran's supreme leader and the presidential office in Tehran were reportedly targeted, as well as military sites across the country. Iran also responded by launching retaliatory missile attacks, according to the Israeli military, as U.S. diplomats in the Gulf and Israeli civilians were ordered to seek shelter. We bring more on this later in the bulletin in our segment Cover Story. Now, Nepal government meanwhile has said that it is closely monitoring the evolving situation in the Middle East, urging the Nepali nationals currently residing in Israel and Iran to take precautionary measures in the context of the latest developments in the region. Issuing an advisory today, Nepal's Ministry of Foreign Affairs has urged the Nepali nationals residing in Israel and Iran to strictly adhere to the security advisories and instructions issued by competent authorities of Israel and Iran. It has urged Nepali nationals to maintain communication with the ministry in Kathmandu as well as the Nepali embassies in Tel Aviv and Doha. The advisory further recommends that Nepalis planning travel to Israel or Iran defer their plans until the situation stabilizes. Citizens living or working in other Middle Eastern countries are advised to closely monitor developments and adhere to precautionary measures issued by local authorities. The Election Commission of Nepal has completed all its preparations for the March 5 House of Representative elections. People with disabilities, meanwhile, have urged authorities to make polling centers disability-friendly, saying they faced significant difficulties during previous elections due to lack of accessibility. They also pointed out that the absence of bilingual assistance created barriers in understanding procedures for voters with hearing impairments. They also stressed that authorities concerned should address such issues in polling centers. We bring more on this later in the bulletin in our segment Issue of the Day. Now, international calls for mediation are growing as Pakistan and Afghanistan engage in cross-border fighting for the third day in the most serious flare-up violence between the neighbors in months that Pakistan says has brought them into open war. Pakistan's government insists there will be no dialogue until Afghanistan stops harboring Tariq-e-Taliban Pakistan TTP militants, whom Islamabad blames for a surge in deadly domestic terror attacks. The conflict intensified Friday with Pakistani airstrikes hitting Kabul, Kandahar and Paktia, the first such strikes on Taliban power centers. Both sides report heavy casualties, with Pakistan claiming to have killed over 270 militants while losing 12 soldiers. At least 20 persons have been killed and other injured after a Bolivian Air Force cargo plane crashed in the western city of El Alto. The plane reportedly skidded off the runway and hit nearby vehicles. The Defense Ministry later confirmed that its C-130 Hercules was involved and that it happened transporting banknotes to the Central Bank of Bolivia. Police meanwhile fired tear gas to disperse crowds allegedly trying to take the scattered banknotes. Real Madrid will play Manchester City while defending champions Paris Saint-Germain will face Chelsea in the pick of the 2025-26 Champions League last 16 games after the draw was made by UEFA in Nyon, Switzerland. Elsewhere, Barcelona will face Newcastle United, Tottenham Hotspur will play Atletico Madrid and Arsenal will take on Bayer Leverkusen. Liverpool will renew hostilities with Galatasaray in a rematch of their league phase game, which the Turkish giants won 1-0 in Istanbul. The 8th-seeded team, who finished in the top 8 spots in the league phase, will be at home for the second legs against the 8 teams who qualified through the playoff round. Operation Epic Fury ignites as U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran trigger a massive regional retaliation and ground flights across the Gulf. We will be back for a cover story to break down the global fallout and the growing chaos at Tribhuvan International Airport after this break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. This is time for Cover Story. The outbreak of conflict between Israel and the United States against Iran, triggered by joint US-Israeli strikes across Iran, has drawn frantic calls for calm, and deep consternation spreads across the globe. Criticism has mounted against Washington for taking part in the attacks while still engaged in nuclear negotiations with Tehran. Anger has also surfaced in Gulf states caught up in the conflict as Iran launches retaliatory missile strikes against US military assets hosted on their soil. Elsewhere across the region, the UAE, Qatar, Jordan and Kuwait, all home to US military bases, said they have intercepted missiles in the airspace. Iranian forces say they have struck a US naval base in Bahrain as Iran launched strikes across the region in retaliation for a massive and ongoing attack against it by the US and Israel. Meanwhile, and escalating tensions in the Middle East, Nepal's Tribhuvan International Airport has suspended flights to 7 major Gulf destinations: Sharjah, Doha, Dubai, Kuwait City, Abu Dhabi, Qatar and Dammam, citing airspace restrictions. All afternoon and evening departures to these hubs have been called off, disrupting travel links between Nepal and the Gulf. General Manager of Tribhuvan International Airport informed flights remain suspended until further notice. Passengers are urged to contact the airlines before traveling, highlighting the broader impact of regional conflicts on global air connectivity and schedules. Washington, meanwhile, has been ramping up the pressure on Tehran to agree to a new deal on its nuclear program. US President Donald Trump, in a video released on a White House YouTube channel, said the operation is intended to defend the American people by removing what he described as immediate threats from the Iranian regime.
I'll say it again, they can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer condemns Iranian strikes on partners across the region, many of which are not parties to this conflict, following a joint US and Israeli operation in the country. Starmer's comments come after an emergency meeting with senior UK ministers and officials in response to the evolving conflict in the Middle East.
I condemn Iran's attacks today on partners across the region, many of which are not parties to this conflict.
A decades-long regional conflict have escalated as US and Israeli forces launched strikes on several Iranian cities focusing on nuclear and missile facilities, while Iran responded with missile launches targeting regional sites. The assaults, dubbed Operation Epic Fury by the US and Lion's Roar by Israel, follow failed nuclear negotiations in Geneva and mark the deadliest direct confrontation since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Our colleague Sarah Sapsanamarai brings an in-depth coverage on the ongoing conflict in the Middle East.
The skies over the Middle East are once again veiled in smoke. February 28, 2026. What was a shadow war for decades has erupted into the light as American and Israeli forces launch a massive, coordinated assault deep into Iranian territory. The roots of this confrontation reach back nearly half a century, born in the wake of 1979 Islamic Revolution. For decades, this was a conflict fought in the dark, through proxy groups like Hezbollah and Hamas, through Stuxnet cyber attacks that crippled nuclear centrifuges, and through the targeted assassinations of scientists on the streets of Tehran. It was a war of plausible deniability played out across the soil of Lebanon and Syria and within the digital ether. But in recent years, the shadows vanished. In 2024, direct missile exchanges shattered the old rules of engagement, leading to a 12-day war in June 2025. Those blistering airstrikes, known in Israel as Operation Rising Lion, did more than just damage steel and concrete. They killed senior leadership, including the head of the IRGC, and crippled Iran's infrastructure. By early 2026, the diplomatic window slammed shut. Just 2 days ago, on February 26, final hour nuclear negotiations in Geneva ended in a bitter stalemate. The US demanded a total, verifiable end to all uranium enrichment and the dismantling of facilities at Fordow and Natanz. Tehran refused, and within hours the US began moving a massive naval armada into the Gulf. February 28, the silence broke. The Pentagon has dubbed it Operation Epic Fury, while Israel calls it Lion's Roar. At dawn, over 200 fighter jets and sea-based missiles struck dozens of targets across Tehran, Tabriz and Isfahan, specifically aiming to raise Iran's missile industry and naval power. US President Donald Trump has framed this as a definitive mission to eliminate what he calls an imminent threat, even appealing directly to Iranian people to take over their government. In the hours since the attack, Iran has launched Operation True Promise 4, firing waves of missiles at Israel and US bases in Qatar, Kuwait, and the UAE. As airspace has closed, with the regional powers bracing for impact, the long-feared total war is no longer just a warning. In all of this, the world is left to wonder, will this overwhelming force dismantle what the US calls nuclear threat, or has it just lit the match for further uncertainty? Sarah Sapsanama reporting for NTV World, Kathmandu.
We will look into the final preparations for the March 5 polls in our issue of the day after this break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. Now it's time for our Issue of the Day segment. The Election Commission of Nepal has said a total of 18.9 million registered voters are eligible to cast their ballots, including 9.66 million men, 9.24 million women and 200 others in the March 5 polls. Under the first past-the-post system, 3,406 candidates are contesting, while 3,135 candidates are running under the proportional representation system. The election will take place across 10,567 polling stations and 23,112 polling centres, with an additional 143,000 temporary polling locations arranged nationwide. To ensure a free, fair and secure election, over 700,000 security personnel will be deployed alongside 245,000 election officials. A total of 42 observer organizations will monitor the electoral process. A total of 65 political parties are participating under the first past-the-post system, while 63 parties are contesting under proportional representation. The Commission said all arrangements have been completed to facilitate a transparent and inclusive voting process. The Election Commission of Nepal has tightened action. 8 individuals and sought clarifications from 94 people for breaching the Election Code of Conduct. 57 clarifications have been received from the political parties and candidates, while re-clarifications have been sought from 6 individuals, according to the Commission. Government and non-government officers, media houses and journalists are also in the list that the Election Commission has held responsible for the violation of the Election Code of Conduct. As of now, 1,076 complaints about the breaching of the Code of Conduct have been received from across the country, while 1,061 have been already sorted out. The highest number of complaints are from the Lumbini province. 4 different election observer organizations of Nepal have stated that the environment for upcoming HOR polls has advanced positively and peacefully in terms of preparations and security arrangements. Organizing a press meet in Kathmandu today, the National Election Observation Committee (NEOC), General Election Observation Committee (GEOC), NGO Federation Nepal and Election Observation Committee Nepal said the nation has been gripped by the polls' fervor, with election canvassing in full swing. The 4 organizations have also urged one and all to make the election a success, adding that election was a pillar for democratic system. The organizations have appealed to the voters to make the polls a success through public participation, adding that ensuring a free, fair and fearless election was a shared responsibility of all. With just 5 days to go for polling day, concerns are growing over whether persons with disabilities will be able to participate fully and independently in the voting process. It is estimated that nearly 650,000 individuals, or about 2% of the population, are living with disabilities. Advocates say that significant voting bloc continues to face structural and physical barriers during elections. Disability rights organizations argue that major political parties have largely ignored disability-related issues in their manifestos. They also note that campaign rallies and public events often lack basic accessibility features. Community leaders are calling on election authorities to make polling stations fully disability-friendly. The key demands include ramps for wheelchair users, braille ballots for voters with visual impairments, trained volunteers to assist voters when needed, clear signage and safe barrier-free movement with polling centres. Rights groups stress that equal access to voting is a constitutional guarantee and fundamental to inclusive democracy. They say the response of authorities in the coming days will determine whether the elections are truly accessible to all citizens. In this next context, we have asked the people with disabilities if the polling centres across the country are accessible to them or not. Let's hear their say in today's Public Pulse.
बत्ताले काजले यस्तो छेकेको ठाउँ हुँदो रहेछ देख्नेले त खुसुक दिने भएर थाहा हुँदैन। हामीले त बोल्नुपर्छ, त्यहाँ पढेर सुन्नुपर्छ। त्यो वातावरण पनि छैन मतदान केन्द्र। शान्तिपूर्ण तरिकाले सुरक्षित भएर एकजना सहयोगीका साथ जानुपर्छ। त्यहाँ हामी जाने बित्तिकै हामीलाई घेर्न आउने, हामीलाई सोध्न आउने, हामीलाई छेक्न आउने त्यस्तो गर्नु राम्रो हुँदैन।
मैले त कुनै पनि ठाउँमा अपाङ्गको अ पनि भेटाइन। फर्स्ट अफ अल ती पार्टीहरूलाई थाहा छैन कि हामी मान्छे हो कि होइन भनेर। यो चाहिँ एकदम दुःख लाग्छ क्या मलाई। तर मलाई यो पालि शङ्का लागिरहेछ, किन भन्दा हामीले इच्छाको व्यक्ति लिएर गएकै कारणले चाहिँ त्यहाँ झगडा सुरु त हुने होइन भन्ने डर पनि लाग्छ क्या कति हदसम्म।
जसले हाम्रो कुरालाई बुझेको छ त्यस्तो व्यक्ति लगाएर भोट हाल्न पायो भने बडा ठुक हुन्छ भन्ने लाग्छ मलाई।
अब त्यो भोटिङ राइट भए पनि त उहाँहरूको अपाङ्गता कारणले देख्न सक्नुहुन्न, कति सुन्न सक्दैनन्, कति हात चलाउन सक्दैनन्। अब आम जनताले तापाउने गरेर दिँदाखेरि त गोपनीयता पनि रहेन नि त भोटिङको। त्यसकारण उहाँको मैत्री भोटिङ व्यवस्था पनि हुनु पर्यो।
हामीलाई पनि संसदमा चाहिँ आवाज उठाउने किसिमको चाहिँ बेन्ची चाहिँ जानु पर्यो सर, त्यही हो।
Now moving on to more updates. Nepal's Ministry of Finance has started a necessary process to formulate the budget of the upcoming fiscal year. Spokesperson at the Ministry of Finance, Tonk Prasad Pandey, informed that a revenue advisory committee has been formed as per prescribed schedule for budget preparation. This committee will provide recommendations to the government on economic affairs and the policy measures to be included in the upcoming budget. The committee will provide suggestions on policy and legal reforms related to income tax, value-added tax, excise duty, education service fees, digital service tax, taxes applied on e-commerce and other internal taxes as per the Finance Act. In Nepal's western Tarai Plains, the thinly populated Hindu Natwa community is on the brink of extinction, concentrated in a few pockets of Lumbini province. Community leaders say decades of neglect, shrinking traditional livelihoods, and limited access to the education and jobs have pushed them into severe economic hardship, prompting urgent calls for official recognition as an endangered ethnic group. Our colleague Diksha Avasthi, along with Rupandehi's local correspondent Deepak Kimire, brings more.
The Hindu Natwa community, which exists in small numbers across Nepal, is now in an endangered state. The community residing in limited numbers in some areas of Rupandehi, Kapilvastu and Nawalparasi districts of Lumbini province, as well as in a few other Tara districts, has requested to be listed as an endangered ethnic group, claiming their population to be around 1,000. In Rupandehi, they are settled in Ward number 3 and 10 of Lumbini Cultural Municipality. According to Natwa leaders, they have repeatedly traveled to the federal capital Kathmandu to stage protest for recognition of their identity, but have not yet received justice. They say they are facing several financial difficulties due to lack of jobs and work opportunities. Men of the Natwa community traditionally traveled across villages to perform at weddings, Bratavanda, that is sacred thread ceremonies, fairs and festivals, playing musical bands, sharpening tools, and even handling snake rescue as part of their occupation. Women, meanwhile, sustain themselves through alms collection. With a change of time and increased access to digital technology and modern musical instruments, traditional Natwa occupations have been pushed aside. They complain even their traditional practice of seeking alms is now viewed negatively by society.
अनि मेरो घरतिर एकजना छ त्यहाँ पनि त्यस्तै झोपडी डेरा तानेर त्यस्तै छ हेल्प सहयोग गर्न अवस्था क्षमता जुन छ त्यो पनि गर्न भन्छ मम्मी गर्दिनुस्
छोरी छोराहरूलाई छोरीहरूलाई पढेको मान्छेलाई नोकरी दिन पर्छ जागिर खान पर्छ त्यही हो कुरा हाम्रो भिक्षा मागेर कति दिनसम्म खान्छन्.
According to community leaders, most families are compelled to survive through daily wage labor at minimum wages. The leaders have urged the government to classify them as an endangered ethnic group and to make agreements for education and employment opportunities. Although Nepal's Constitution 2072 guarantees equal rights to all citizens, marginalized communities still do not have equal access to opportunities in practice. Acting Chief of Lumbini Cultural Municipality, Kalpana Harijan, informed that the local government has been providing support to help preserve their cultural identity.
बाजा बजाउने र बाजा बजाउने कलाबाट आफ्नो परिवारको जीविकोपार्जन गर्ने हुँदा हामीले कुनै पनि कार्यक्रमहरू गर्दा चाहे धार्मिक होस्, राजनीतिक होस्, अन्य सङ्घ संस्थाबाट गर्ने कार्यक्रमहरूमा होस्, नटुवा जातिको बाजागाजा वेशभूषा सहित हामीले सहभागी गराउने र उहाँहरूलाई अलिकति भए पनि आर्थिक भारमा सहयोग गर्ने गरेका छौं.
There appears to be a need for special plans for scholarship, skill-based training, self-employment programs, and cultural preservation for the Natua community. Diksha Awasti with local correspondent Deepak Ghimire reporting for NTV World.
Millions around the world live with diseases so rare that most people have never heard of them. For a patient in Nepal, these conditions bring not just health challenges but also enormous financial and emotional burdens. On Rare Disease Day, Smituke Singh Tamang looks at the struggles, the gaps in care and the urgent need for awareness and support.
On Rare Disease Day, attention turns to millions of people living with conditions that most of us have never even heard of. But beyond awareness, one major issue stands out: the high cost of treatment. A rare disease is a condition that affects a very small percentage of the population. Yet, globally, rare diseases are not so rare. According to the World Health Organization, there are more than 7,000 identified rare diseases worldwide. Together, they affect around 300 million people globally. Nearly 70% of these diseases begin in childhood, and many are caused by genetic mutations. So why are medicines for rare diseases so costly? One major reason is small patient populations. Pharmaceutical companies spend years researching and developing drugs, but the number of patients who need them is very limited. This means the cost of research gets spread across fewer people. Medicines developed specifically for rare conditions are known as orphan drugs. Many of these treatments can cost thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. In many developed countries, governments provide support through subsidies for orphan drugs, insurance coverage, and national rare disease programs. These policies help patients access life-saving treatment. However, in countries like Nepal, the challenges are greater. Rare diseases are often underdiagnosed, misdiagnosed, or detected very late. According to Rare Skin Disease Nepal, advanced genetic testing is limited and many families must seek diagnosis or treatment abroad, which significantly increases costs. The society says raising awareness, improving diagnosis, and building supportive health policies are key steps forward. Because when it comes to rare diseases, the condition may be rare, but the need for care is not. Smituke Singh Tamang reporting for NTV World.
More international updates coming up. Before that, let's have a recap of the headlines. US and Israel launch attack on Iran. Trump says massive operation underway. At least 53 killed in attack on Iranian girls' school. Nepal government says it is closely monitoring situation in the Middle East. Issues safety advisory for Nepalese in Israel and Iran. People with disabilities call for accessible polling centers ahead of March 5 vote, say equal participation hindered by inaccessible facilities. International calls grow as Pakistan and Afghanistan engage in cross-border fighting for a third day. Pakistan rejects the dialogue. At least 20 killed after military plane carrying banknotes crashes in Bolivia. Police fires tear gas to disperse crowds trying to take banknotes. And Real Madrid to face Manchester City in Champions League last 16. Chelsea drawn against holders PSG. Welcome back now to more updates. Protesters scuffled with riot police in central Athens during a rally to mark the 3-year anniversary of Greece's worst train disaster, which claimed 57 lives in 2023. More than 100 gatherings were being held in Greece and abroad to demand justice for the victims, most of whom were young students returning from a 3-day carnival weekend. Tension flared as demonstrators clashed with officers, with several arrests reported and police using tear gas to disperse crowds. Authorities warned of continued unrest throughout the day as commemorations and protests continue across the country. North Korea released a rare image today of leader Kim Jong-un's teenage daughter firing a rifle at a shooting range, adding to speculations that she is being groomed as a successor. Kim's daughter, Ju-ae, has long been seen as the next in line to rule the secretive nuclear-armed state and took part in a string of recent high-profile outings, including this week's military parade marking the closing stages of North Korea's Key Party Congress. South Korea's spy agency said this month that Pyongyang appears to have started the process of designating Ju-ae as leader Kim's successor. KCNA also said Saturday that Kim Jong-un's powerful sister Kim Jo-jong will head the party's General Affairs Department, a role analysts describe as akin to a party secretary general. A Pakistani astronaut will participate in a short-duration space flight mission of the Chinese space station as a payload specialist. It came after the signing of a cooperation agreement between China and Pakistan in February 2025, under which the Chinese government began to select and train a group of Pakistani astronauts, with one of them selected as the first foreign astronaut to enter the Chinese space station. According to the project, the Pakistani astronaut will conduct scientific experiments for Pakistan during the short-duration space mission, as well as perform routine crew duties during the flight. A sudden and late intense winter storm has brought daily life into a standstill in parts of Turkey, just days before the arrival of spring. After a brief period of mild weather, heavy snowfall returned to the region last week, reaching 70 centimeters in the city center and exceeding 1 meter in higher elevations. Meteorological authorities report that the total cumulative snowfall for this winter season has now reached a staggering 664 centimeters. The storm has cut off access to several villages and towns with massive cleanup operation, which is currently in progress. Australia's Sydney is preparing for its annual gay and lesbian Mardi Gras parade, one of Australia's largest public events expected to draw thousands of attendees. The parade, which began in 1978 as a protest of LGBT rights, has grown into a major cultural celebration featuring elaborate costumes, colorful floats and performances. Organizers say the event highlights both the city's vibrant LGBT community and ongoing efforts for equality while attracting large crowds of local and tourists alike. The parade also draws international tourists, boosting Sydney's economy while celebrating diversity and inclusion. The Vatican has begun the largest restoration of Milagros, the last judgment fresco in more than 3 decades, targeting a wishlist residue that has accumulated over the centuries. Experts say the build-up caused by visitors' perspiration has worsened in the recent years due to rising temperatures and humidity linked to climate change. Fabio Moresi, head of scientific research and the Vatican Museum, said the perspiration has increased in recent years due to climate change. The restoration aims to preserve the integrity of the masterpiece for future generations amid evolving environmental challenges. Now time to go for a short break. When we come back, we shall have updates from business.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is in India to repair a fractured diplomatic relationship and reduce economic reliance on the United States. Today, Facing aggressive trade tariffs from the Trump administration, both countries are prioritizing pragmatic economic interests over past grievances. The trip is strictly focused on business, with Khan skipping traditional cultural stops to concentrate on energy, technology and defense in Mumbai and New Delhi. A key expected outcome is a 10-year uranium supply agreement to fuel India's civilian nuclear program. While some members of the Sikh community criticize the shift, officials suggest that the urgent need for a rules-based trade alternative to the US has created a window of opportunity that both leaders are eager to seize. Target has announced it will stop selling breakfast cereals containing synthetic colors by the end of May this year, significantly outpacing the timelines of its competitors. This move is a direct response to the growing backlash against ultra-processed foods and aligns with the Trump administration's Make America Healthy Again initiative led by Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. While major retailers like Walmart have set similar goals for 2027, Target's aggressive spring deadline puts immediate pressure on food manufacturers to reformulate their products. The shift comes as the US prepares to ban 8 commonly used artificial dyes following a push from federal health officials. With 85% of Target's cereal sales already coming from dye-free options, the retailer is moving to capture a market increasingly focused on ingredient transparency and the elimination of additives like corn syrup and seed oils. Germany's transport regulator, the KBA, has ordered a worldwide recall of more than 330,000 BMW vehicles due to a potential fire hazard. The safety issue involves the incorrect routing of dashboard wiring, which can lead to damage or short circuits, particularly during routine maintenance like cabin air filter replacements. The recall specifically affects 5 premium models built between June 2022 and December 2025. This includes the i5, i7, 5 Series, 7 Series, and the high-performance M5. This marks BMW's second major recall in less than a month, following an earlier global alert concerning engine starters that could spark fires. While no accidents or injuries have been reported in relation to this latest wiring defect, the KBA has designated it a significant safety risk. The news follows a difficult period for the automaker, which was forced to recall 1.5 million vehicles late last year due to a faulty braking system. Owners of the affected models are being advised to contact their dealers for a free inspection and repair. Burger King is piloting an OpenAI-powered assistant named Patty that lives inside employee headsets. The artificial intelligence monitors customer interactions in real time, listening for hospitality keywords like welcome, please, and thank you to generate an overall friendliness score for each location. While currently in 500 stores, the chain plans a nationwide rollout by the end of 2026. But the move has already sparked dystopian comparisons and backlash from labor advocates concerned about invasive workplace monitoring.
Now to latest from sports. Nepali departmental team APF Club and Nepal Police Club played to a draw, sharing points in their match held under the NFA National League at Dasram Stadium in Kathmandu. With a draw, league leaders APF have accumulated 20 points from 8 games, while Police with 8 points remain in 10th place. In another match, Sri Bhagwati Club secured a comfortable 6-0 victory over Kakre Bihar Club. With this one-sided win, Sri Bhagwati have moved up to 12th place, earning 8 points from 8 games, while Kakrabihar have managed just 1 point from the same number of matches. Pakistan is playing against Sri Lanka in the final match in Group 2 of the Super 8 phase at the ICC 2026 Men's T20 World Cup. The match underway at Palakili Cricket Stadium in Sri Lanka saw the host nation win the toss and decide to bowl first, with Pakistan positioning to 212 runs with a loss of 8 wickets in stipulated 20 overs. Sri Lanka so far has scored 159 runs with a loss of 5 wickets in 16.3 overs. Pakistan, meanwhile, needs to restrict Sri Lanka to 147 or less to pip New Zealand to semi-final spot. Sri Lanka lost both their opening Super 8 games and are already eliminated from the race for a semi-final spot. Corners and second yellow cards will be added to the scope of the video assistant referee VAR for this summer's World Cup. Measures to address loss of tempo in matches and cut down on time wasting will also be introduced, including new countdowns on goal kicks, throw-ins and substitutions. The International Football Association Board IFAB approved the proposals at its annual general meeting at Hensall Castle in Wales on Saturday. The changes will come into force from June 1 and apply for the 2026-27 season. It comes after Benfica's Gianluca Prastiani was accused of racially abusing Real Madrid's Vinicius Jr. while covering his mouth with his shirt. Now the weather updates, first from across Nepal and the world. This brings us to the end of this bulletin, but before we wrap up, let's have a recap of the headlines. US and Israel launch attack on Iran. Trump says massive operation underway, at least 53 killed in attack on Iranian girls' school. Nepal government says it is closely monitoring situation in the Middle East, issues safety advisory for Nepalese in Israel and Iran. People with disabilities call for accessible polling centers ahead of March 5 vote, say equal participation hindered by inaccessible facilities. International calls grow as Pakistan and Afghanistan engage in cross-border fighting for a third day. Pakistan rejects the dialogue. At least 20 killed after military plane carrying banknotes crashes in Bolivia. Police fires tear gas to disperse crowds trying to take banknotes. And Real Madrid to face Manchester City in Champions League last 16. Chelsea drawn against holders PSG. That's all here for the moment at NTV World News Hour. I'm Suveksha Rajaka and thank you for staying with us. Good night.